or roundtable. This is the public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. The time is 10:17 in the morning, and this roundtable is to consider or to hear testimony regarding PR 26-165, which is entitled State Superintendent of Education Dr. Antoinette Mitchell, Confirmation Resolution of 2025. The purpose of this resolution is to confirm the mayor's nomination of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell as the State Superintendent of Education and head of the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, fondly known as OSSE. OSSE serves as the district's state education agency and is responsible for a myriad of issues such as early childhood education, K through 12 academic oversight, special education, including non-public tuition schools and compliance, student health and wellness, administration of federal grant funding, administration of the district's statewide assessment, otherwise known as DC CAPE, collecting, managing, and analyzing education-related data, adult education and linkages to workforce development, and the District's Special Education Transportation Division. Today's roundtable is an opportunity for the committee to hear from the public with regard to the fitness of the nominee to serve as the State Superintendent of Education. As I think I said, this legislation was introduced at the request of the mayor. The record in this matter will close just under 2 weeks from now at 5 p.m. on Monday, May 5th, 2025. We have 18 witnesses before we hear from the nominee. Let me see if there are any colleagues here. There's at least one colleague here. Councilmember Henderson, do you have any comments or statement?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thanks so much for calling this hearing today, and good morning to everyone. I cannot stay for the whole hearing, but I had to come and to provide a statement. And this is, I'm just going to say, is my statement of support for Dr. Mitchell. I've known Dr. Mitchell for a long time. Prior to becoming a council member in the way back, I was a council staffer, and I had the pleasure of chairing the committee on it, not chairing. I was the committee director for the Committee on Education. OSSE was one of my agencies that I worked with. We saw a lot of superintendents in that little stretch of time there, come, go, interims, et cetera. We worked a lot with Dr. Mitchell on her work around post-secondary. And she knows I would ask these questions about AP exams and SAT and why were we paying for every student to take the SAT, but we weren't providing them any SAT prep? Like, there were things that just didn't make sense. And I always found her to be a good partner in the work and a good partner around our overall goal of trying to make sure that any student who desired to go to college, you had the financial means in order to do so. But if you didn't want to go to college, you were graduating with an education that allowed for you to get a job and take care of your family and be successful and also be a productive member of society. And so her contributions and leadership in the education space thus far, I think, have exemplified her passion and commitment to working with not just parents and students, but educators and institutions and everyone who should be a part of this conversation. And so I'm actually looking forward to hearing what new ideas Dr. Mitchell has in the other areas outside of post-secondary, which I know that's her focus. Well, not now, but that had been a passion project for her. And so, you know, there are obviously some challenges that are faced with OSSE, whether it be in terms of special education. You know, I think we still have some concerns in terms of oversight overall of the system to ensure that each young person is, again, getting what they need in our LEAs to graduate to either whatever that future desire is, but feeling prepared to do that work. In that, I think we also need to talk a little bit about early learning and the work that we're doing around early childhood. And and this is a weird time for state Department of Education because I got a federal Department of Education who no longer believes that they have a role. And so how do states step up, especially in a very unique governance structure that we have here in the district? And so if I have to, if it aligns and I have time to come back to ask some questions, that's what I'm really going to be focused on. But at this point, you know, a 14-year veteran of OSSI, I mean, frankly, being there for 5 years, you there longer than most, that's okay. But I'm really excited about this, and I was glad to see that the mayor did nominate someone from within and someone who is confident, someone who is knowledgeable, someone who certainly knows the system enough to make the changes that need to be made. Because I think a lot of times in the work, particularly with OSSI and our LEAs, who I love tremendously, but there are a lot of them, and they all think that they're special snowflakes who don't have to listen. How do we corral them for the central goal of making sure that every child has the opportunity to learn? So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember. So let me proceed to call witnesses. LaJoy Johnson Law, who's the Ward 8 representative on the State Board of Education. Russ Williams, CEO of Center City Public Charter School. Jordan Clark. Emma Kelly, who's listed as Keep. Keyshawn Puta, who's ANC Commissioner with ANC 2E. Rustin Lewis is Executive Director of Communities and Schools of the nation's capital. I'm going to stop there. All right, there's way too much friendliness there at the table. Ms. Johnson Law, you're first. And good morning.
Good morning. And it's a beautiful day, especially for a confirmation of a DC homegrown. So we have joy at this table. We hope you can join us in the Joy Fest, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, there is joy at the table. Let joy is at the table. And if it's a beautiful day, we should be outside, not inside, but not to disagree with you. Please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. My name is LaJoy Johnson Law, and I have the honor of serving as the Ward 8 representative on the great DC State Board of Education. I come before you all today filled with pride, purpose, and hope as we consider the confirmation of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell as the next state superintendent of education in DC. As a proud DC native, Dr. Mitchell brings more than 12 years of experience, and I think it's over 14, but over 12 years of experience at OSSI to this role. Her journey has not only prepared her for this moment, it has affirmed that it is now her time to serve. And what a powerful thing it is to see one of our own step forward with vision, commitment, and heart needed to lead this agency at this crucial time. I've had the opportunity to get to know Dr. Mitchell over the past year, and what stood out to me immediately was her deep care for our children, her belief in supporting the whole child, and her courageous leadership, doing what is right for students, even when it may not be easy or popular. She brings not only experience, but a deep moral clarity and an urgent drive to truly create an education system that serves all of our families. As a mother of a child with an intellectual disability that has an IEP, and as a representative of one of the most resilient and underserved wards in the city, I cannot overstate how much this moment matters. We need leadership at OSSI that is committed to fixing what's broken, particularly in special education, transportation, IEP implementation, early childhood, and more. But doing all this while lifting up what's possible. Dr. Mitchell has demonstrated a genuine willingness to listen, and I believe she will lead with compassion and a clear commitment to breaking down systemic barriers. Her approach centers on ensuring that every child, regardless of their background or zip code, has the support and opportunities they need to succeed. Her leadership is rooted in service, and her confirmation presents an opportunity for DC to move education forward with hope and bold ideas. Sorry, I'm going to the next page. As we move forward, I hope we collectively commit to supporting her leadership and holding this agency accountable with helping families, strengthening cross-agency collaboration, special education, quality, and really centering our youth educators and caregivers. This confirmation is not just about one leader, it is about our collective responsibility to the children in the schools in the District of Columbia. I am DC proud. We should all be DC proud to support Dr. Mitchell today. And I look forward to walking alongside her as she leads OSSI in advancing transparency, building trust, and helping every student reach their academic full potential. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer questions. I have 50 seconds to spare. Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you very much. I believe Russ Williams is not here. Jordan Clark.
Good morning. It's a genuine privilege to be able to speak today about the critical importance of protecting early childhood education here in DC. I'm excited to address the council regarding Dr. Mitchell, whose qualifications are formidable and impressive. I'm delighted that she has experience as a DC educator and that she has demonstrated her support and mentorship for new generations of educators. I also admire her work in the DC Workforce Investment Council, where I have to believe that she has seen factors besides a lack of qualifications that can limit or complicate a person's ability to participate fully in the workforce. As the parent of a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, DC's education system is incredibly important to me. We love many things about DC, but we chose to stay in DC and raise our family here, in spite of sometimes difficult commutes to employers in Maryland and Virginia, and the high cost of daycare for kids under 3 because of DC's excellent pre-K programs. Both of my children attend Barbara Chambers Children's Center, a community-based organization in our neighborhood where my son is in pre-K 3 and my daughter is in daycare. At Barbara Chambers, both of my children are educated in a dual language setting where they and their classmates are all engaged meaningfully and equally in both Spanish and English, regardless of what language they speak at home. They also have reliable access to before and after care within half a mile of where we live. The quality, convenience, and care enable me to work full-time, and this is only made possible by DC's Pre-K Enhancement and Expansion Program, PKEEP, which is under threat today. Not today, but right now. For me and many other working parents, PKEEP is indispensable. PKEEP provides my son with high quality access to free pre-K and keeps my daughter's daycare more affordable by offsetting the high cost to providers of caring for kids under 3. And given DC's current budget challenges, it's worth noting that CBOs are a better deal for DC's taxpayers than the alternatives. So I'm here today to urge Dr. Mitchell to keep in mind the crucial role of accessible early childhood education in DC's complex education ecosystem. In addition to preparing young children to succeed in elementary school and beyond, early childhood education keeps the city's parents working and keeps our economy healthy. The availability of dual language programs in early childhood education, the reliable and predictable availability of before and after care on site at schools, and the convenient availability of these in every neighborhood, in every ward, are necessities for families of the district. I have every confidence that Dr. Mitchell will be able to support working families and join DC parents in advocating for PKEEP. Thank you very much for your time and consideration today.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Emma Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify on the resolution to appoint Dr. Mitchell to a 4-year term as superintendent of OSSI. I'm a Ward 1 resident and a parent of a DCPS kindergartner and a 2.5-year-old in daycare. You could say education in DC is important to me. I asked the council and Dr. Mitchell to not lose focus on the importance of early childhood education in OSSI's role. Dr. Mitchell is a very accomplished educator and administrator, and DC is so lucky to have her, but she does not have experience in early childhood education. DC is a leader in early childhood education. Through a robust system of integrated programs and supports for families, childcare providers, and early childhood educators, the OSSI Division of Early Learning supports DC children and families' access to high-quality early childhood education programs and start school prepared to thrive. Early childhood education helps children to develop skills that will benefit them in school and in life. Research from the United States shows that early childhood education can help children learn the foundational skills for reading, math, self-control, and positive relationships. The educational accomplishments of our district's youth, as evidenced by increased test scores, are a result of the good base our children have from OSSI's programs and supports. Quality childhood education also increases economic health of DC. Research shows that for every $2 spent on early childhood education, there's a $4 return. With talks of budget cuts and changes to programs, it's very important that OSSI ensure that they are doing all they can to maintain and continue the robust programs the district has. The district's early learning system for children 0 to 5 is incredibly interconnected. Changes to programs like Pre-K Enhancement Expansion Program, PKEEP, and the Pay Equity Fund would cause negative ripple effects throughout the entire early childhood education system. Community-based organizations deliver pre-K through the PKEEP program. The CBO model is also critical to offering cost-effective childcare options to parents with children under 3. PKEEP makes it financially feasible to offer infant-toddler childcare services as the cost of care for very young children is higher. Without PKEEP funding, parents will likely face higher tuition for infant and toddler care in facilities across DC. Facilities may close and DC would lose valuable childcare jobs. I strongly urge the council and Dr. Mitchell to keep this in mind through her leadership at OSSI. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Kishan Putta, I think, is not here. And Rustin Lewis. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Rustin Lewis. I'm the Executive Director of Communities and Schools with Nation's Capital and a resident of Ward 7. Every day, our team works in schools across the district to remove barriers to student success by addressing chronic absenteeism, improving attendance, supporting mental health, or connecting families with critical services. We serve students holistically because learning happens when students feel safe, supported, and seen. I'm honored to offer this testimony in strong support of Dr. Mitchell's confirmation as the State Superintendent of Education. At Communities and Schools, we know that effective school-based support must be matched with strong systems-level leadership. OSSI plays a critical role in shaping the support ecosystem surrounding students in the city. OSSI is also essential in shaping the learning environment through its policies on attendance, health and wellness, transportation, and school funding. Additionally, OSSI drives community school strategies, and its funding model has enabled organizations like ours to support students and achieve meaningful results. Our partnership with schools, made possible partly through grants with OSSI's Community Schools initiatives, helps to ensure that every student receives support they need. One of our elementary school principals who benefit from the partnership with OSSI told me that Communities in Schools extends our reach and strengthens our impact, end quote. We know that sustaining and growing this work requires steady, visionary leadership at the helm of the state education agency. Dr. Mitchell is the leader we need. Dr. Mitchell possesses the perfect combination of experience and values needed for this moment. Her background as an educator, policymaker, and administrator gives her a deep understanding of how to improve outcomes at the individual, school, and systems levels. Throughout her career, she has shown her unwavering commitment to educational equity, and she understands that improving academic achievement requires more than test scores. It requires attention to the whole child. Dr. Mitchell's leadership style emphasizes collaboration and results. She listens, builds trust, and takes purposeful action, qualities essential for addressing chronic absenteeism. We've seen how effective leadership at OSSI can be when applying data-driven strategies and meaningful partnerships. I believe Dr. Mitchell will continue to connect systems and communities so all students, especially those facing significant challenges, can thrive. On behalf of our team and the thousands of students that families we serve, I urge the council to confirm Dr. Mitchell as the district's next state superintendent of education. Her proven leadership will not only strengthen the foundation of our education system, but will also lead us toward a future where every child in the district has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you for your time and unwavering commitment to the students of Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for your testimony. Thank you, each of you, for your testimony. I have a couple questions for either Ms. Clark or Ms. Kelly. Both of you focused your testimony on PKEEP. but it wasn't clear to me, are you in support of the nomination?
I'm supporting the nomination. I just want the council and Dr. Mitchell to remember the importance of early childhood education and the importance of PKEEP.
And Ms. Clark,
I would agree with that.
you're in support of the nomination?
Yes, I support the nomination.
Ms. Clark, in your testimony, you had this statement, and given DC's current budget challenges, it's worth noting that CBOs are a better deal for DC's taxpayers than the alternatives.
Yes, so public schools and public charter schools actually include the additional burden of facility costs, and whereas CBOs don't require the DC budget to pay facility costs in addition to the costs of educating the children, and have the added value add of supporting under 3 care for kids who also attend those same CBOs but aren't yet in pre-K.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Johnson Law, we've worked a lot on issues around special education here as a
Okay.
district. And I'm curious, what are some areas where you feel like in this next 6 months,
Mhm.
Dr. Mitchell, if confirmed, really needs to focus some attention on in terms of improvement?
Thank you, Councilmember, for that question. I think Dr. Mitchell and Aussie can really focus on supporting our teachers and making sure that they have the tools and resources needed to implement special education services. And when I say teachers, I mean not just the special education teachers, but honestly, all teachers. We have to really ramp up training and support. And I know there's a lot happening. I know that a lot can change in 6 months. But as we all know here, only Congress can change certain laws. So there are laws that are still in place that need to be implemented. And what I'm saying is, I also think that would probably have a fiscal impact when we're talking about training and resources and support. But we got to figure out something, especially in light of what's going on in the district right now. Like we like you said, we have to figure out how to do better. And so I think a good place to start is go directly to the classrooms where all of the teachers are, because special education starts in the general education classroom and then branches its way out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So a witness from Community and Schools, I'm so sorry I didn't catch your last name. OSSI obviously works with a lot of partners. They don't do this work alone, particularly the Community and Schools work, or whether it be our out-of-school time providers, after-school funding. A lot of this comes through OSSI. In your conversations with some of the grantees or the organizations that you work with, what do they hope that OSSI can do better in terms of their partnership relationship on some of the issues that you work on?
Yeah, I think, Rustin Lewis, I think the challenge for many of our partners, including ourselves, is to continuously provide case management support services, to really provide intensive programming for kids in high needs. And I think that's been the challenge, to really be able to provide not only intensive services, but consistent services over a period of time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Fruman, do you have any questions?
No questions, but I wanted to, I guess I'll take all the mystery out of it. I'm in strong support of the nomination. Look forward to hearing from the witness and from all of the public witnesses. Thank you to the witnesses who have testified. You know how important PKEEP is to me. So glad to hear you come out and support, and all the great work that's being done by the other witnesses as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other questions for you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for your willingness to testify and be here in person. We always appreciate that.
Thank you.
Let me turn to the next group of witnesses. Scott Goldstein, who's Executive Director at Empower Ed. Michelle Walker Davis, who's Executive Director at the DC Public Charter School Board. Joelle Good, who's Executive Director of JMG Productions, Inc. Jessica Giles, who's Executive Director at Education Reform Now Advocacy DC. Tammy Lewis, Senior Director of Government Affairs at DC Charter School Alliance. And I think I will stop there. Mr. Goldstein, good morning. You're up.
Good morning. I'm pleased to testify today in favor of the confirmation of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell to continue in the role of superintendent. Dr. Mitchell's deep roots in Washington, D.C. community make her an especially good fit for this role. She knows about the community she's serving and cares deeply about them. If confirmed, I also believe she'll be one of the few D.C. education cluster leaders since the implementation of mayoral control who did not attend the Broad Academy or Broad Center at Yale, an institution whose former managing director describes students as products, and in explaining the center's approach, said that maximizing student outcomes is equivalent to maximizing profits, and that schools should be viewed in terms of their impact on the bottom line, a mindset I believe has yielded deeply harmful reforms to students and educators. I raise this because I believe resume matters, and Dr. Mitchell has a different type of resume. Teaching in DC, working in teacher accreditation, and leading a school of education right here in DC. Of course, I'm also a little biased in favor of a former DC social studies teacher as well. I have witnessed in my interactions with Dr. Mitchell a human-centered leader who cares about the outcomes of DC's young people, but doesn't define outcomes as math and reading scores alone. I believe Dr. Mitchell cares about the holistic well-being of students and the adults that serve them and provides them an equity of experiences across our schools. I believe that student access to great teachers, mental health resources, and elective courses or field trips shouldn't depend on where in our city they attend school. Those are things the superintendent has the ability to move in the right direction. But as you consider confirming Dr. Mitchell to this role, it's also important she make firm and specific commitments to listening to students, families, and educators, and implementing what works and making reforms where necessary. I also believe OSSI has work to do in strengthening how it engages the public in human-centered ways. Engagement with the SBOE has improved, but OSSI should welcome greater authority for the SBOE as well. The superintendent endorsing Councilmember Parker's bill to this effect would send a powerful message of partnership as she begins her full tenure. In the coming weeks, we hope Dr. Mitchell will fight for critical OSSI programs and ensure out-of-school time grants, food and nutrition grants, the whole child and educator wellness grants, and others are protected from ending funding freezes. Our schools cannot afford more interruption to these programs, especially at this stage in the school year. In the coming years, we hope Dr. Mitchell will prioritize several things in her leadership at OSSI. First, we must improve services for students with disabilities. The federal report raised incredibly alarming concerns, ones we've heard from advocates over the years. When it comes to servicing IEPs, educator training or transportation, we have a long way to go to improve how OSSI handles special education. Second, we hope Dr. Mitchell will call on her experience of over 10 years working in teacher accreditation to take a comprehensive look at the teacher licensure process, especially as it concerns immigrant educators. We must find better ways to transfer credentials for foreign educators, institute a Spanish Praxis 2 equivalency, support immigrant educator visas, and provide Spanish language support. Third, we hope Dr. Mitchell will prioritize equity of experiences for our students at OSSI, consider standard and graduation requirements, field trips policies, and funding for well-rounded education. Fourth, we hope OSSI will demonstrate leadership in funding educator wellness grants over the long term and converting them to continuation grants to ensure full year cycle partnerships for schools and DECE centers with the most experienced community-based partners. Fifth, we hope that as we approach the new revision of the school report card, OSSI will begin laying the groundwork, including data collection, to support the inclusion of availability of before and after care, experiential learning data, and minutes spent not only in PE, but language, music, the arts, and more. Finally, we hope OSSI will prioritize moving more quickly with data reporting, especially as it pertains to the educator workforce. We're deeply grateful for the increased breadth of reporting, but we must make more timely if we wish it to be utilized for improvement. And with all of this, she must step up to defend DC values and our work from federal threats. We believe Dr. Mitchell is well positioned to do these things, and with your support, we believe she'll be an active, engaged, and human leader that pushes our education system towards equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. Ms. Walker Davis.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. I am Dr. Michelle Walker Davis, Executive Director of the DC Public Charter School Board. Thank you for holding this hearing today and for the opportunity to testify in support of the confirmation of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell as State Superintendent of Education. Dr. Mitchell's deep roots in DC's education landscape are a tremendous asset to our city. She began her career as a social studies teacher right here in DC, gaining firsthand experience in the classroom. Her subsequent roles as a research associate at the Urban Institute's Education Policy Center, vice president for unit accreditation at National Council for Accreditation of Teacher Education, and dean of the School of Education at Trinity University have all been based in the district and reflect her longstanding commitment to advancing education in our community. Her extensive knowledge of local systems, combined with her leadership at OSSI since 2014, uniquely position her to drive meaningful progress for DC students and schools. Her commitment to improving the quality of education in DC is self-evident, not only from her past work experience, but through OSSI's actions since Dr. Mitchell became interim superintendent last June. Collaboration is a strength of Dr. Mitchell. I can attest to the quality of partnerships between OSSI and DCPCSB over the past year, which have strengthened our academic oversight abilities. Dr. Mitchell and her team have been instrumental in supporting us in the implementation of our academic accountability system, ASPIRE. OSSI collaborates with DCPCSB's data team to ensure LEAs have accurate and consistent data to analyze. Additionally, OSSI works closely with us on their vision to support struggling schools through the Accelerate DC plan, ensuring their school improvement efforts complement our oversight work. We also look forward to working with OSSI as we develop a Board of Trustees training program for public charter schools. I've been pleased to see OSSI support public charter schools with clear expectations, access to funding, and a strategic plan. This only scratches the surface of how OSSI has supported public charter schools in DC and collaborated with DCPCSB since Dr. Mitchell became interim superintendent. OSSI's high-impact tutoring initiative is addressing opportunity gaps in after-school learning for students across the district. Earlier this month, OSSI hosted the DC High-Impact Tutoring Summit. I'm grateful to Dr. Mitchell for convening DC's education leaders to address gaps in reading and math learning opportunities, and for allowing me to speak about the importance of accessible and high-quality tutoring for DC's public charter school students. In order to improve special education services, DCPCSB is meeting with OSSI's Special Education Learning and Compliance team regularly to discuss updates and needs for public charter schools. This collaboration allows OSSI to align professional development and technical assistance offerings with schools' needs as identified by DCPCSB audits. We thank Dr. Mitchell and the OSSI staff for their support in our academic initiatives, ensuring all students have access to a high-quality education. Dr. Mitchell has already demonstrated her ability to lead OSSI and focus on issues that support schools and impact families and students. I ask that you confirm Dr. Antoinette Mitchell to the permanent position of State Superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker-Davis. Joelle Good, I believe, is not here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, oh, my notes say you are here, and I see you. Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and distinguished members of the City Council. My name is Joelle Mide Good. I am the Executive Director of JMG Productions, Inc., and my nonprofit serves as a coaching provider for the DC Futures College Coaching Scholarship Program under the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, OSSI. Mr. Chairman, it is always a pleasure to speak before you and the Council. I am here today in support of Dr. Mitchell being confirmed as the next Superintendent of Education and to applaud her wonderful, distinguished, and outstanding work. Dr. Mitchell's passion for education is relentless. During an interview with Dr. Mitchell, she shared that education is a primary driver for economic self-sufficiency, and that education provides the space for people to explore who they are and what they want to do in the world. And so when you combine economic self-sufficiency with self-agency, you have a winning strategy. Working with her on the DC Futures College Coaching Scholarship Program, I witnessed firsthand her dedication to students and their success. The practical application of her philosophy impacted students in a positive way, resulting in high college graduation rates, job placement, and continuing education. Because of Dr. Mitchell's vision for the DC Futures program, many of our students have landed impressive careers that include being selected as an engineer for Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, WMATA, passing the registered nurse boards on the first attempt and was accepted into Georgetown new nurse residency program, as well as being accepted into UDC's BSN program, pursuing a medical degree and being invited to join Phi Beta Kappa, selected as one of 5 fellows out of 500 applications for the prestigious STAR Prep Science for Training. For the prestigious STAR Prep Science Training for Advancing Biomedical Research post-baccalaureate program, combining a dual degree of a master's and doctoral degree. Of course, Dr. Mitchell has brought her passion to all levels of education in the District of Columbia, from kindergarten through post-secondary. The nation's report card shows that the District of Columbia Public Schools has remained the single fastest improving urban school district 10 years running. DC is a leader in public education. To have a native Washingtonian, Dr. Antoinette Mitchell, at the helm of the Office of the State Superintendent of Education means investing in a future that is brighter, stronger, and full of possibilities for the children, youth, and families of the District of Columbia. Thank you for the privilege of your time.
Thank you, Ms. Good. Jessica Giles?
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember Henderson and Fruman, Committee of the Whole members and staff. My name is Jessica Giles. I'm a proud resident of Ward 7 and the Executive Director of the DC Chapter of Education Reform Now Advocacy, an organization advocating for a just and equitable public education system for all students in the District of Columbia. I am delighted to testify in support of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell. Dr. Antoinette Mitchell is the kind of leader we hope for in this role. She is a Washingtonian who graduated from our public education system and returned to serve our students. She began her career as an educator, went on to serve as a researcher and problem solver at a national education organization, and later supported future educators at a university in DC. For several years now, she has been a trusted and respected leader at the Office of the State Superintendent of Education. Her track record shows a deep commitment to DC students, educators, and our community, and it's clear from her time as interim superintendent that she is ready to lead. OSSI plays a critical role in safeguarding and overseeing education for district residents of all ages. Over the past 5 years, OSSI has become even more central to our education system. During the pandemic, the agency administered about $600 million in federal relief funding to stabilize and support our schools and drive academic recovery. OSSI continues to be the tip of the spear in our city's effort to accelerate student achievement. This year, OSSI must also navigate unprecedented political challenges, leading our local education agencies through a federal landscape that is hostile to public education, diversity and inclusion efforts, and DC's autonomy. That's a tall order for any leader, and it underscores the importance of having a seasoned, strategic, and values-driven leader at the helm. DC is leading the nation in academic recovery, ranking first in math and reading grades from 2022 to 2024. But we can't stop there. We need bold leadership to ensure that despite headwinds, DC becomes the nation's leader in innovation, opportunity, and academic excellence. This means driving policies that rapidly improve underperforming schools, protecting equitable funding across sectors, making robust investments in evidence-based literacy and math instruction, and implementing a comprehensive strategy to ensuring every student has a clear, supported pathway to and through college and career. OSSI must also resolve once and for all the longstanding issues it has with delivering special education transportation services and establishing a gold standard for serving students with disabilities. Dr. Mitchell has shared her vision for public education in DC with me. I know she puts a premium on academic achievement. She is passionate about education, and she is a compassionate and committed leader. She brings the experience, relationships, and vision required to guide the critical work ahead. I urge you to swiftly confirm her appointment. Thank you for the opportunity to share my testimony.
Thank you, Ms. Giles. Tamara Lewis.
It's Tamara.
Sorry.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson. My name is Tammy Lewis, and I'm a proud Ward 5 resident and parent. I serve as Senior Director of Government Affairs for the DC Charter School Alliance. We advocate on behalf of the 68 nonprofit organizations operating 134 public charter schools in the district, serving nearly 48,000 students, from early childhood through adult education, or almost half of all public school students in DC. I've worked in education policy in the district for more than 25 years and held senior staff roles at the DC Council, in the mayor's office, OSSI, and across the charter sector. As someone who helped draft the legislation that transformed our state education office into a modern state agency with full authority and responsibility, I understand what it takes to lead OSSI. That's why I could not be more honored to support Dr. Antoinette Mitchell's nomination as State Superintendent of Education. Dr. Mitchell has been at OSSI since 2011, almost from the beginning of its evolution. At that time, DC had been designated a high-risk grantee by the U.S. Department of Education due to widespread issues with grant management, resulting in more than 200 compliance findings. Rather than shy away from that complexity, Dr. Mitchell stepped into the challenge. She was instrumental in helping build the foundational systems OSSI needed to ensure fiscal responsibility and regulatory compliance, and ultimately to exit high-risk status. Her work included designing new policies and procedures, hiring and training staff, and creating a sustainable infrastructure for managing millions in federal education funding. In those early days, many were discouraged by the steep climb, but Dr. Mitchell stayed. She led with patience, clarity, and a singular focus on building a credible, high-functioning state education agency. But Dr. Mitchell's impact didn't stop at stabilization. She has been a bold and forward-thinking architect of what's possible in education. She spearheaded digitizing the DC TAG application, streamlining access, and serving more than 4,500 families annually. She played a key role in establishing 17 career academies across DC high schools, offering students real pathways to success in fields ranging from IT to healthcare. She also launched the DC Youth Re-Engagement Center, which supports 250 disconnected youth every year in earning diplomas and credentials. She led the shift to the integrated education and training model in adult education, combining literacy instruction with job training. These are not small wins. They are structural, lasting shifts that have expanded opportunity and access across the district. What sets Dr. Mitchell apart isn't just her qualifications, it's her presence. Over the years, she has earned a reputation as a quiet force within DC's education ecosystem. She is a true collaborator. She listens deeply, respects different perspectives, and brings people together to solve complex problems. Whether designing systems to improve federal compliance or reimagining technical education, Dr. Mitchell leads with humility, intelligence, and a relentless focus on what's best for students. As the district navigates unprecedented uncertainty, as the federal education policy and funding landscape rapidly changes, there is no better person to lead OSSI. Her colleagues, community partners, and educators alike trust her not only because of her experience, but because of her integrity. A native Washingtonian, Dr. Mitchell graduated from Wilson High School and began her career as a social studies teacher at Hine Junior High. Her journey from DC classroom to agency head is incredibly inspiring to all of us. She brings deep policy expertise, steady leadership, and an unwavering belief in the power of education to change lives. Again, there is no one better equipped to lead OSSI at this moment. I urge her swift confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Thank you, each of you, for your testimony. The testimony is all very helpful, and I appreciate it. I don't have questions for you, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to this panel of witnesses. I do want to ask a couple of questions. I'll start with you, Mr. Goldstein. In terms of the advocacy work, excuse me, that your organization has done in terms of working with educators on issues pertinent to the education system, you obviously in the past have had criticisms, if you will, in terms of the work of OSSI. I know it's a nomination hearing, and so there is a desire to obviously be very positive in terms of the qualifications of the nominee. But I also think it's important for us to look forward in terms of what changes or new initiatives or new manners of communication methods, et cetera, that you'd like to see going forward. Unless you're cool with how everything is going and you just want a continuation. And so I want to give you an opportunity to speak to a little bit while Dr. Mitchell is here of what do we hope to see from OSSI in its next 5 years?
Yeah, I listed 5 in here, long-term things, and I would emphasize again and double stamp what Representative Johnson Law said about special education. I think that's very imperative and maybe first priority for OSSI. And I do agree with her that teacher training for teachers, for lead classroom teachers who are not special education teachers, because we hear that all the time, the lack of training and how they are not looped in together with the special education. So I think that that is an imperative for them. Obviously, the transportation issues have gotten better under control, but there's still issues there, but IEP servicing. So I'd say special education. I think that OSSI has made a lot of progress with the things I raised about well-rounded education, but I do think that's a main priority area. And I do think there's going to be threats in the coming years to a lot of the things that we've tried to put into place. And I don't want to necessarily call them all out specifically, but I think we've implemented a set of new standards, which are great. I think we've done a lot of work on social emotional learning, which is really important. I think OSSI has been a really great leader on holistic initiatives, whether they're on outdoor learning and health and wellness, the educator wellness initiatives. So I want to see them protect that work. And I think that's not necessarily going to be easy, but I want to see them prioritize that. And then I will also double down on Dr. Rustin Lewis's testimony about community schools and making sure they continue to keep that a priority in funding and strategy.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Walker Davis, I'll ask the same question for you. It's not often that an authorizer gets to provide advice of improvement in terms of the relationship. And so I'm curious, what are you hoping that OSSI is focusing on in the next 5 years?
Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. I think you've heard testimony thus far about the challenges that we are facing. So I think there's some immediate and urgent matters that I'm looking forward to partnering with Dr. Mitchell and OSSI on regarding how we respond to our current federal funding climate and also the climate and its impacts on programming. So I would say that's number one. I would echo some of the sentiments around special education, and I don't single out OSSI. I think all of us as education agencies have work to do there. And I look forward to OSSI's leadership and guidance and partnership in implementing some of the necessary special education reforms. And then I would say continued partnership on state level accountability. This is work that OSSI has a part to do, and clearly we have a part to do with charter schools. I am excited about the partnership that we formed. I am looking forward to implementation of the Accelerate DC. Even in our current review cycle, we've seen how that collaboration and partnership has been helpful in being clear on expectations and helping LEAs hear one message and not have to navigate 2 messages from state level authority. So I would point to those 3 big areas as things that I would look to continued leadership, improvement, and partnership with OSSI on.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, everyone, for your testimony.
Thank you, Councilmember. Don't get up, Councilmember Fruman.
I don't have any questions. I want to thank all of the panelists for their testimony and for Ms. Lewis, the work that you did in advocacy before Congress to try to avert the problem that we're still working on averting. I'm really grateful to you. Hope that you have it on your calendar to keep working on that so we can push it over the finish line. Want to echo. I think what's striking to me about this hearing is if Superintendent Mitchell can bring as many stakeholders around the table to collaborate going forward as she has brought to the table to endorse her nomination, I think we're going to be in good shape to pursue the kinds of things, Mr. Goldstein, that you were talking about. And I didn't mention it when the other panel was up, but the Communities in Schools initiative is a critical initiative that I hope will be taken to heart along with the other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you. You can all get up. Thank you very much for your testimony. And Ms. Giles, thank you as well. You all are excused, and I'll turn to the next group of witnesses. Pat Brantley, who's CEO of Friendship Public Charter Schools. Eric Waldo, who's President and CEO of DC College Access Program. Maya Martin Cadigan, who is founder and executive director of PAVE. Killen Boardman Schroyer. Yeah, I know, I kind of screwed that up, sorry. But I haven't seen you in a long time, so. Aaron Bibo, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives with CityWorks DC. And Kim Wargo, who's head of school at the Lab School of Washington. I believe is virtual. Ms. Brantley, you're first. Good morning.
Chairman Mendelson and members of the council, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to speak today. My name is Pat Brantley, and I serve as CEO of Friendship Public Charter School, where we educate nearly 4,500 students across the District of Columbia. We were here in the very beginning when OSSI was formed, and we are here today. I am here to express my strong and unequivocal support for the confirmation of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell as State Superintendent of Education. At a time when DC schools face serious challenges, including an uncertain budget outlook, the urgent need to continue to accelerate student recovery post-pandemic, and the push to define a modern graduate profile that ensures all students are prepared for college and career, we need a leader with experience, vision, and heart. Dr. Mitchell is that leader. Her deep roots in education as a teacher, dean, researcher, and OSSI head make her uniquely equipped to guide our student forward. I am not here to tell you that everything that OSSI does is perfect, nor that Dr. Mitchell won't face challenges, but we all saw clearly the progress that the agency made under Dr. Christina Grant. Dr. Mitchell is the person to continue that progress. She has shown up for students, for LEAs, and for the city. She listens, she engages, she leads. Through initiatives like the Math Task Force, the literacy work that is continuing, and her work to propose new aligned graduation requirements, Dr. Mitchell has demonstrated a leadership style that is competent, thoughtful, and forward-looking. She understands the nuances of our education ecosystems, charters and traditional schools alike, and she believes in the promise of high-quality public education for all students. We live in a time where kindness and compassion married with competence and capacity are rare, but they are so necessary. That is Dr. Mitchell. We need her leadership now more than ever. I urge you to confirm Dr. Mitchell as the State Superintendent of Education. Our students and the future of education in DC will be stronger because of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brantley. You are the only witness who didn't give us your statement. Will you please submit it?
Absolutely.
It's great to be unique, but we'd like your statement. Eric Waldo. Microphone.
Yep. Chairman Mendelson and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Eric Waldo, and I am the president and CEO of DC Cap Scholars. I am here to offer my full and enthusiastic support for the appointment of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell as the next state superintendent of education for the District of Columbia. DC CAP provides a 5-year cohort-based scholarship program with wraparound coaching to DC students in partnership with 13 colleges to help ensure our students graduate with little to no debt and are able to excel beyond belief in DC and the world economy. Dr. Mitchell is a deeply principled and proven leader who has consistently demonstrated a commitment to educational opportunity. I've had the privilege of working closely with her through her service on the board of directors for DC CAP and now as a member of our advisory council. In every interaction, Dr. Mitchell brings wisdom, clarity, and a true spirit of collaboration to advance our mission of eliminating the higher education achievement gap for DC students. But I want to focus most of my time on one particular example of her leadership, one that has had a direct and powerful impact on students and families in the district, especially in Wards 7 and 8. Under Dr. Mitchell's leadership, DC became a recipient of the federal Gear Up grant for the first time in nearly a decade. For her application, DC had not been awarded a Gear Up grant since 2014. Thanks to her efforts, DC CAP now helps administer this $21 million grant aimed squarely at supporting students in Wards 7 and 8 from middle school through their first year of college. This is a game-changing investment in our young people, providing tutoring, mentoring, college and career advising, financial aid support, and much more. None of it would have been possible without Dr. Mitchell's vision and determination. Dr. Mitchell is collaborative, always willing to roll up her sleeves and do the work. She's responsive, genuinely listening to feedback from community partners and making thoughtful student-centered decisions. And she brings a relentlessly positive energy to every room she enters, reminding all of us what is possible when we put students first. Dr. Mitchell has already given so much to our city, and I can think of no better person to lead the Office of the State Superintendent of Education into its next chapter. I am happy to answer any additional questions and heartily endorse this appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Waldo. Maya Martin Cadigan.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, members of the committee and committee staff. My name is Maya Martin Cadogan. I'm a Ward 4 resident, the founder and executive director of PAVE, which stands for Parents Amplifying Voices in Education, and the parent of a 7th generation Washingtonian. Today, I'm writing to offer my enthusiastic support of the confirmation of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell as the next state superintendent of the District of Columbia. I would like to begin by thanking OSSE for their consistent engagement with paid parent leaders, which has continued under Dr. Mitchell's leadership. OSSE has proactively reached out to hear directly from parents on a wide range of key issues during her interim tenure, including but not limited to the upcoming health standards and proposed revisions to high school graduation requirements. Dr. Mitchell herself is always willing to be out in the community, engaging with students, parents, educators, and community partners alike. This type of leadership that does not wait for feedback, but proactively seeks out the perspectives of parents and the community, is precisely what leads to thoughtful, inclusive, and effective policy. Dr. Mitchell brings a background in both college and career readiness. This dual focus is critical to paid parent leaders who want their children to graduate not just with a diploma, but with real choices for their future, whether that's a 4-year college, a workforce credential, or a career and technical pathway. Her experience in this space will ensure that every student's journey is supported and valued. At the recent Friendship Public Charter School Gala, an event celebrating outstanding educators, Dr. Mitchell shared with me that she was deeply concerned about student absenteeism. This really resonated with me as it aligns with conversations that we've had with paid parent leaders when we share data on absenteeism and truancy. I was encouraged by Dr. Mitchell's eagerness to take action on the issues that impact our children. Our vision for addressing the issue includes 4 pillars: student safety, student engagement, student connectedness, and student well-being. Paid parent leaders have developed thoughtful, community-driven solutions in support of those pillars, and I hope these will continue to be elevated and supported at OSSE under Dr. Mitchell's leadership once she is confirmed. The first is school-based mental health. Children mirror the adults around them. If our educators are not well physically, mentally, or emotionally and aren't in the building or aren't showing up as their best selves, our students suffer. OSSE must continue investing in school-based mental health supports for both students and educators. The second is out-of-school time program support. OST plays a critical role in the learning ecosystem, providing safe and productive environments for children to enrich their learning and explore their passions. We hope OSSE will extend its professional development offerings to OST program staff, helping equip them with the tools to support our children's growth. Safe passage. We appreciate OSSE's efforts to improve transportation for special education students in the dedicated buses, but we all know more work is needed. The last is finding the best specialized school program for each student. We need to use every tool in our toolbox to get kids excited about going to school, and we hope that they'll invest in a navigator to help students navigate the system. We want to enthusiastically recommend Dr. Mitchell for her kind of collaborative and community-grounded leadership that DC students and families deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boardman-Schroyer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, members of the Committee of the Whole, and staff. My name is Kylan Boardman-Schroyer, and I am a Ward 5 resident and father of 2 children attending public schools here in DC. I've also spent the last 16 years working for DC government, first as a staffer of the DC Council, and for the last 12 years working at the Office of the State Superintendent of Education. For the last decade, I've served as the Deputy Assistant Superintendent for the Division of Post-Secondary and Career Education, or PCE, a role that has allowed me to work under the incredible leadership of Dr. Mitchell for the last 10 years. In this role, I have gotten to know Dr. Mitchell as a manager, a servant leader, and an individual. Today, I am not here as a representative of the agency. Instead, I am here to provide my personal perspective on why Dr. Mitchell is ideally suited, not just for this role, but for this role in this moment in time. It's currently a complicated time for our city, our country, and our world. The circumstances we are facing are daunting, but the work that we do to support our students is just as important today as it was yesterday or last year, maybe even more so. Dr. Mitchell innately believes this, and she has been able to bring a reassuring and calm presence to what is otherwise a chaotic and uncertain time. Her leadership embodies an unwavering commitment to our values, our goals, and our belief of our residents' immeasurable potential, despite what feels like opposing headwinds. Furthermore, Dr. Mitchell provides the right mixture of the patience needed to facilitate inclusive decision-making and the urgency to effectuate positive change now. She knows that equipping our students with the knowledge, skills, and abilities they need to be successful in the future cannot wait. However, she is also humble enough to know that as talented as she and her team at OSSI are, we do not have a monopoly on good ideas, and we must take into account the perspectives of external experts, practitioners, and stakeholders when developing our programs, processes, and policies that will impact our students' education and thus the future of our city. She has proven herself to be a fair and trusted thought partner as she has navigated many competing perspectives, both internal and external to OSSI. She often does this by asking incisive questions to help sharpen proposals in an empowering way rather than prematurely shutting down conversation or disagreement. Her approach recognizes the contributions and perspectives of everyone at the table while ensuring that personal and professional differences, agendas, or egos never divert us from the central mission, which is always doing what is best for our students. Lastly, Dr. Mitchell has the credentials, professional experience, and subject matter expertise within the education sector that grounds her decision-making in research-driven best practices and practical realities. Yet she is also forward-thinking and open to new ways of reimagining education. During her time as Assistant Superintendent of PCE, Dr. Mitchell helped shift the district's educational framework from a one-size-fits-all approach to college to a multi-pathway system that allows students to explore a myriad of college choices and provides them with supports, tools, and resources to map out and navigate a personalized path to successful careers and fulfilling lives. This flexible, student-centered, and empowering approach to achieving success is a hallmark of Dr. Mitchell's approach to leadership and speaks to her vision of what education in our city can look like, not just for my two children, but for all of our DC students. I have been and continue to be grateful for the opportunity to work closely with her to improve our city's educational offerings, and I cannot think of a better leader to help move OSSI and our city's public education forward.
Thank you very much. Aaron, is it Bebo?
Bebo. Good morning, Chairman Mendelson, committee members and staff. My name is Erin Bebo. I'm Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at CityWorks DC, a Ward 6 resident, parent of three DCPS children, and a former DC government employee. I'm thrilled to be here in support of Dr. Mitchell's selection. I have two examples that I would like to share with you today. The first is personal. When I first started at OSSI, I was the parent of a 6-month-old. And I was also defending my doctoral dissertation. Dr. Mitchell took time out of her day to ask if she could prep with me. It was a really stressful time in my life, and that kindness was so appreciated. She really spent time making sure I felt like I could do it. And I will never forget that kindness from her. That's the type of person that Antoinette is. She does the right thing, and I am going off I'm not reading because I have practiced this, and I've actually started to cry every time I've read it, so I'm trying a different tactic. That kindness really just meant so much to me. Dr. Mitchell does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. She doesn't expect the recognition for it. She is also just incredibly inclusive in terms of her stakeholder engagement. A great example of that is the graduation requirement redesign process that she and her team have been leading. That work is thankless. Everybody has a different opinion on what is right, what the requirements should and should not include. And Dr. Mitchell has really taken the time to thoughtfully, steadfastly I'm going to go back on my notes now because this is not going to make me emotional. Throughout the process, Dr. Mitchell has been committed to engaging stakeholders and the public. During stakeholder engagement sessions, CityWorks DC has organized. Dr. Mitchell has listened intently to feedback, asked thoughtful questions, followed through with exploring suggestions, and followed up to share updates. In doing so, she has demonstrated a commitment to transparency, collaboration, and the best possible outcomes for our city's young people. In sum, on behalf of CityWorks DC and myself, we are enthusiastically supportive of Dr. Mitchell's selection for state superintendent. She is eminently qualified in the right role for the right reasons and a wonderful person and leader. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bebo. Kim Wargo.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. My name is Kim Wargo, and I am the head of school at the Lab School of Washington. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in strong support of this hearing for Dr. Antoinette Mitchell's confirmation as the Aussie State Superintendent. Dr. Mitchell is already an outstanding state superintendent of education for the District of Columbia, and she will no doubt continue to be outstanding once hopefully approved by the council as the permanent superintendent. Let me tell you a little bit about my school. The Lab School of Washington for 60 years has provided an arts integrated program designed for students with language-based learning differences and ADHD. Our program enables students to capitalize on their strengths in order to overcome difficulties in reading, spelling, writing, and math to prepare them for rewarding college and career choices. Lab's success in effectively educating children with learning disabilities for almost 6 decades has made it a national and international leader. In fact, we regularly host delegations of policymakers and educators from around the country and the world who seek to learn from our teachers and leaders. Recent delegations have visited our school from England, Germany, Australia, France, Switzerland, and Saudi Arabia. The Lab School is different than most other independent schools in the district. We are part of the city's special education ecosystem, and unlike nearly all other independent schools, we serve students from both the DC public schools, public charter school system, as well as other area public school jurisdictions. Serving public school students has always been a core part of our mission. Given this commitment, we recognize the importance of having leadership like Dr. Mitchell's at the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, who value Lab's contributions to district families and students. It is my firm belief that in this role, Dr. Mitchell will continue to apply her experience in education leadership and her unparalleled understanding of Aussie as the permanent state superintendent. She is a strong leader who has already proven herself capable of navigating the complexities of the district's education governance and multitude of constituencies with integrity, fairness, and compassion. In particular, she has demonstrated respect for traditional public schools, charter schools, and non-public schools like Lab that educate students placed by the district due to learning differences. Last October, we were pleased to welcome Dr. Mitchell to our campus. During her visit, we were able to have a deep discussion about our core mission and the valuable role our school plays for certain district students. To my knowledge, this was the first time the State Superintendent of Education took the time to visit Lab to understand the role we play, how we achieve success, and why non-traditional models are essential for students that learn differently, and conversely, why traditional settings don't work for these students. In the same way, we believe she is sensitive to how some traditional regulations and rules may inhibit learning for these students by restricting how instruction is delivered. In short, we believe that Dr. Mitchell understands that Lab and schools like it are not peripheral to or a threat to the district's public school system. Instead, we provide a valuable backstop and a resource for public school families in certain situations, namely the families of students whose needs are not able to be met immediately in their current school setting. It is important for these families to have a partner like Dr. Mitchell at Aussie. Therefore, on behalf of the lab school community, I strongly urge the council to confirm Dr. Antoinette Mitchell as the next State Superintendent of Education. Her leadership will not only bring continuity and vision to OSSI, but will also ensure that students with learning differences remain at the forefront of the district's efforts to deliver on its promise of educational equity for all. Thank you for your time and for your continued dedication to the students of the District of Columbia.
Thank you, Ms. Fargo. Thank you, each of you, for your testimony. I have just one question. Mr. Waldo, you mentioned this Gear Up grant. Could you say more about it?
Yeah, OSSI applied and invited DC Cap as the sub-applicant in the summer. It's my first year at DC Cap, so the summer of 2023. So we applied, we received that grant. It's a $21 million grant over 6 years. We start serving students in wards 7 and 8. We began in middle school, and we serve, I believe, three middle schools there, and then we're following those students through high school, and they're getting comprehensive coaching, academic advising, and then they'll get high dollar scholarships for their first 2 years of college. So this will end up serving over 500 students in wards 7 and 8.
So it's a little bit less than 3 million a year?
I believe that's about right. There are dollars reserved on the back end. The scholarships are about $11,000 a year per student. So the higher dollar is reserved in the back end years.
And so what DC Cap does is you've identified and you're working with specific schools.
That's right. We are the sub grantee through OSSI, and so we are the ones actually providing the coaching parts. We have 7 coaches that are in those wards 7 and 8 schools that will follow those students throughout their career, and then we will also administer the scholarships as well, which is primarily what DC Cap also does.
And then is it every student in the school, or it's?
So we have students who enroll into the program who sign up. So we actually end up serving at the beginning more students than just, we're serving entire middle schools right now, but we'll end up having their dollars allocated for 500. So they will, more than that, are getting the coaching, but ultimately some students will not persist through that 6-year time. So it ends up being about 500 students.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any specific questions, but I did want to note that I think the fact that current and former colleagues are here to speak on behalf of this nomination is certainly telling. Aaron, I remember when you were working there, and Kylan, obviously we worked together for a number of years on a variety of issues, and I feel like you guys see the day-to-day in the trenches, and being here, I feel like, is a representation of the leadership and character of Dr. Mitchell in support of that nomination. I will also note, yes, well, I don't know if we'll hear from DCPS. They exist, they're here. We heard from charter schools, but also to hear from a private school, also speaking about the relationship and partnership in terms of OSSI. Ms. Wargo, I wanted to say thank you for being here as well. A lot of people like to think in terms of the, private schools we're independent, but there is a relationship, especially when we're talking about non-publics. There is a relationship to what's happening here. And frankly, there are some regulations for which apply to everyone, regardless of whatever your classification or status is. And so thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Fruman?
Thank you very much. I want to thank all the witnesses. I want to echo the sentiment that Councilmember Henderson just offered, which is when this many people from different perspectives are saying the same nice things, they're true. So thank you very much for coming out.
I guess that means at other hearings you're feeling more dubious. Thank you all for your testimony and for being here. It's all very helpful. So you're all excused. We have one last witness before we get to the nominee, Dr. Christina Grant, who's currently the Executive Director of Center for Education Policy Research at Harvard University. Sorry to have you sitting alone, but that's the way it works out.
That doesn't feel fair.
Oh,
Feels reminiscent.
yes, you always like testifying before the committee.
I mean,
That's what you said.
Good afternoon, or is it still good morning? Good morning, Chairman Mendelson, members of the Committee of the Whole and staff. My name is Dr. Christina Grant. I am the former State Superintendent of Education for Washington, D.C. the current executive director of the Center for Education Policy Research at Harvard University, and a member of the State Board of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I'm honored, deeply honored, to provide testimony in support of the confirmation of Dr. Antoinette Mitchell for the role of State Superintendent of Education for the District of Columbia. Dr. Mitchell's deep commitment to the children of Washington, D.C., combined with her unique professional expertise and her personal dedication as a native Washingtonian, is uniquely qualifying her to lead the system at this time. As you've heard, she's served in a variety of roles across Washington, D.C. and within OSSE. She is the right leader at this right time. Dr. Mitchell's connection to Washington, D.C. goes beyond her roots, though those run deep. It fuels her passion for improving educational outcomes and ensuring equitable opportunities for all students. Her ability to build and nurture positive relationships amongst schools, government agencies, and within the Office of the State Superintendent of Education is impressive, and I've witnessed this directly. Having worked closely with Dr. Mitchell for several years, I've had the privilege of witnessing her remarkable leadership, her dedication, and the profound impact on our education community. She is a deliberate decision maker that seeks to listen and understand the vast perspectives of others before she takes action. She is a leader that builds and develops other leaders. At this unique moment in the district's history, she will be mindful as she sets the vision for the education community as a whole. As my former direct report, Dr. Mitchell has consistently demonstrated her ability to inspire and guide those around her, including me. Her passion for education is palpable. It's rooted in her desire to make a lasting difference in the life of children and their families. She possesses an innate ability to connect with educators, students, families, breaking down barriers to create a supportive and inclusive environment. In some of the hardest moments navigating the global pandemic, Dr. Mitchell was always there with a positive spirit, a bold idea, and a commitment to moving the work forward for our children. During our time working together, I have witnessed Dr. Mitchell's tireless efforts to advance initiatives that have had a lasting impact on students and on Washington, D.C. In her role as Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Mitchell spearheaded significant initiatives such as the DC Futures Program and the ideation, development, and creation of the Advanced Technical Center. As you've heard, the DC Future Program has been pivotal in ensuring support, ensuring that higher education was more accessible to more students. The Advanced Technical System, and I was with Secretary Cardona yesterday, and he says hello. The Advanced Technical Center offers training, equipping students with the skills needed for high-demand industries, thereby describing and directly addressing workforce needs and enhancing student career prospects. As post-secondary pathways and readiness become the center of local and national conversations, Dr. Mitchell's wide range of professional experiences will lend themselves to the state superintendency. Much of what the district now celebrates as advancement in high school redesign and post-secondary readiness are a direct reflection of Dr. Mitchell's vision, her leadership, and her ability to lead a complex team and complex projects. She will lead the district in the revision of graduation requirements and work with the State Board of Education to navigate that approval process. From university presidents to the classroom, Dr. Mitchell understands the complex set of stakeholders across Washington, D.C., and she is both deeply respected and loved. She is a quiet force, but she is a force. Her extensive experience enables her to adeptly navigate the complexities of both federal and local government. Her collaborative approach, strategic vision, and ability to harness cross-sector partnership make her an ideal candidate to lead OSSE with vision and integrity. She will lead the internal functions of OSSE, ensuring that the team is both supported and challenged. She will lean into innovation and ensure that OSSE continues to support the needs of this complex and unique system. I have no doubt that she will work well with the State Board of Education, the Public Charter School Board, DC Public Schools, and all of the vast stakeholders across the education system as a whole. Dr. Mitchell is not only prepared, but poised to excel in this role. Her leadership is characterized by an unwavering commitment to educational excellence, collaborative problem solving, and innovative thinking, qualities that are essential for guiding our schools toward a future of success. It's rare to find a leader who combines expertise with such genuine compassion. She has a heart for children, paired with her extensive experience and dedication. It makes her uniquely qualified to lead. She is literally the embodiment of what we say is possible for the children of Washington, D.C. I wholeheartedly believe in her vision for education, and I'm confident that under her leadership, the district will continue to foster an environment where every child can thrive. I strongly urge the council to confirm Dr. Antoinette Mitchell's nomination for State Superintendent of Education for Washington. Is equipped to lead. I'd say nationally, we are all watching the evolving trends a little up the road. And, you know, what's true for DC is actually not true for most states across the country. And so we will have to be mindful of different shifts in funding, different ways that the district will have to readily reply to any request or decision makings coming out of the federal government. And I think Dr. Mitchell is poised to not just lead the district, but be a national leader along other states that will be navigating these rough waters together. I think locally, she will be poised to work on many of the items that were addressed during this hearing, everything from early childhood education to a deep investment in continuing the work in special education, and particularly in student transportation. Most individuals don't know or appreciate how long Dr. Mitchell has served at OSSI, almost from the beginning. And though I highlight her work in post-secondary readiness, I actually don't think there's an aspect of the agency she hasn't touched or doesn't understand or isn't equipped to lead. Those are just some of my thinkings there. I would say that the role of the council is to continue to make an investment in the state education agency. As the federal role in education lessens, there will be an amplification of the role of state superintendent, and there'll be an amplification of the role of the state education agency. And there are functions at OSSI that this council and this government will have to invest in to ensure that the district is ready to meet the demand. That would be everything from grant structures, both current opportunities and future opportunities, and overall compliance that, should they not exist at the federal level, will have to exist at the state OSSI level, and that would be under the leadership of Dr. Mitchell. And so as she comes forward, navigating the path forward, she will need this council and this administration's support in doing so in support of the schools that she will represent.
So I'm not asking you so much to predict as to just what your sense is of the state of things. I'm thinking with the Federal Department of Education. Grants, funding, going to dry up, more interference with standards and getting right into what we're requiring or we're not allowed to require of students. To what extent do you think we're going to be facing challenges there?
I mean, I think the we is both the district and the nation.
Yes.
The roads ahead are unprecedented, but one could argue COVID was unprecedented. Like there was no small feat to have received that Gear Up Award in the construct of what we were navigating at that time. And I could list so many initiatives that existed under Dr. Mitchell's leadership, both to and through the pandemic. And as we find ourselves here today, I won't predict the future, but I would say if the way federal grants are currently structured give states additional flexibilities, if there are opportunities for waivers, if there are current allowances for grant fundings that currently haven't been utilized, Dr. Mitchell would be and is the right leader to help navigate the district in that path forward. I think there will have to be a local and a national approach. She will have to get out and learn and meet other state superintendents or commissioners to work together on some of these initiatives, but she will need your collective unwavering support on the path forward. When I think through the pandemic, DC was one of the only jurisdictions to seek a waiver on assessments during that time. As we think about the path forward, she will have to navigate ensuring that the agency has the team, the staff, the expertise to unlock what can be possible for Washington, DC as we navigate a path forward. And she's going to need support for that leadership. My prediction is that things will look dramatically different a year from now than they are today. But what is true in DC is we did come out first on the nation's report card while navigating a global pandemic. So that tells me it's possible for our children to learn and thrive and for our schools to have the supports they need, even while we are navigating an unprecedented time federally.
I think I'll leave it there for the moment. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Grant, always good to see you.
Thanks.
I don't have any specific questions, but I want to again express what it means to have the former person who had the job endorsing the nomination of the next person to have the job. And again, obviously, you work very closely with Dr. Mitchell, and so I see the insight that you have there, as well as the insight that you have around what's happening across the country and the landscape coming in. I don't envy any of our state education leaders across the country. I don't envy our district leaders across the country. Even though we're part of it, we're, a step removed from some of the grapplings and also some of the very hard conversations that you have to have with federal agency folks who don't have the expertise, who don't have the knowledge, and yet they have the decision-making power.
And to that, I would say you all have to make a committed effort to protect your state superintendent and protect your state education agency. When I took this seat, I was unknown to DC, and I remember having coffee with Dr. Mitchell in Starbucks, and she was the only member on that leadership team that made a commitment to serve. And that's why she's sitting here now. Dr. Mitchell has never sought the limelight. She has never sought to be the face. She has always sought to do the work, and consistently, if you track her years of leadership, she has always done the work in service of children, and I'm confident that she will continue to do so, even in the times we find ourselves in.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember. We've been joined by Councilmember Bonds.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And this is a very important position, as you well know, Dr. Grant. You had it for many years and did a very sterling job, in my estimation. I am excited to know that you are branding this appointment. That's very important to me. I grew up here and product of the school system. And as such, knowing a little bit about the comings and the goings, the ups and downs of our system, and having someone with the breadth of the expanded breadth, as you and I had talked when you were sitting in the seat as the superintendent, to understand how OSSI, as it's called, has grown and the different roles that it plays. I know a little bit about your background and the service that you gave. And so to have you to say this individual can certainly be at the task and do an excellent job is very important to me. So I thank you for being here. I did not know you were actually going to be here. Thought you might be on video or something, but thank you so much. And to Dr. Mitchell, I'm looking forward to talking more with her. We've had a tremendous conversation. Want you to know, so thank
I
you.
remember our tremendous conversation. It served me well. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. We'll turn now to the nominee, Dr. Antoinette Mitchell. If you would come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning. So after all that testimony, that's a tough act to follow. Okay. When you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, members of the Committee of the Whole, and staff. My name is Dr. Antoinette Mitchell, and I am honored to be nominated by Mayor Muriel Bowser as the State Superintendent of Education for the District of Columbia. I come from a family who always valued education. My family is originally from South Carolina, where my mom's family was rumored to have owned a brickmaking machine, and my dad's family were farmers. My mother attended a Rosenwald school during her elementary years and eventually went to Claflin College, a small HBCU in Orangeburg, South Carolina. There she met my dad, a veteran attending on the GI Bill. They both became educators and worked at the same school until they migrated to the District of Columbia in 1954 after the Brown versus Board of Education decision. Here in DC, they found new jobs in education, bought a house in Mount Pleasant, grew their family, and provided the foundation I needed to grow and thrive. My mother, who just turned 100 years old on Easter, continues to live in the same house where I grew up, and I'm so honored that she's here today cheering me on. I was born and raised right here in the district. I am a proud product of our public school system. I attended Bancroft Elementary School, Deal Junior High School at that time, and Wilson, now Jackson Reed High School. Through my elementary and secondary school experience, I was privileged to sit before transformational educators who entranced and inspired me. I remember Mrs. Frances Murray. She wore a dashiki and her hair in an afro. She considered our rap circles, the time when we would sit cross-legged on the floor and talk about our community, as important as learning to read and write. I recall Mrs. Clark, who made us draft, rewrite, and polish essays every week, and then showed us the tremendous improvement in our writing from the first essay in September to the last essay in June. She made us aware of and proud of our growth. I remember Mrs. Miles and Ms. Medley, who team taught English and U.S. history. I learned from them the value of interdisciplinary studies. And I recall all of the special projects in Mrs. Roundtree's ninth grade biology class and Mr. Steckschulte's AP English class that prepared me for college level work. School for me was always a magical place, headed by great leaders, Mrs. Stafford at Bancroft, Reginald Moss at Deal, and Mike Durso at Wilson. I wanted to begin my testimony talking about the educators who shaped and molded me because I know there are DC educators making similar, unforgettable impacts on their students every day. I owe so much to the district for my wonderful education experience, and I am honored to have the opportunity to support our amazing educators every single day. I went on to college in New York at Columbia University and to graduate school in California at Berkeley. I taught secondary social studies at Hine Junior High School between the two. My experience as a teacher was critical in shaping my desire to expand my understanding of educational theory and practice. Moreover, as a teacher, I witnessed how social, emotional, familial, and systematic barriers can prevent students from reaching their full potential. I also learned how systems of support and resources and caring can act as mitigating factors. And I saw how student interest, agency, and connection can really drive academic success. These lessons continue to guide my leadership vision. I am not only sitting before you today because education is in my blood. More than anything, I am here because it is my firm conviction that education can be a great equalizer. It is education that helps young people dream expansive dreams that reach beyond their individual circumstances. And it is education that provides the tools and pathways to see dreams come true. Education is about knowledge of facts and figures and skills and abilities. It is also about self-awareness, individual agency, and lifelong learning. To give our students the best chance for a meaningful and fulfilling life, we must provide them excellent educational experiences. I believe my personal experiences will position me to lead OSSI and expand the educational horizons of our students. I am pleased to share more about my professional experience and my vision for moving OSSI forward in the coming years. I strongly believe that teachers are the true agents of change, and central to my role and the education system writ large is providing teachers the professional training, supports, and instructional materials needed to successfully develop and inspire the next generation of Washingtonians. Supporting great teaching, providing rich educational experiences in schools, and facilitating post-secondary education have been at the core of my work over the course of my career. After earning my doctorate, I worked as an education researcher for the Urban Institute and as Vice President of Unit Accreditation at the National Council for the Accreditation of Teacher Education. These experiences grew my research expertise, my knowledge of the education landscape, and my leadership skills. At the Urban Institute, I conducted evaluations of teacher education programs, particularly programs aimed at increasing diversity in the teaching workforce. At NCATE, I helped improve teacher training programs across the country, strengthening content area knowledge and expanding the field experiences of teachers in training. Later, as the Dean of the School of Education at Trinity Washington University, I worked to grow the elementary, special education, and early learning programs and to provide professional development to local teachers. However, it was not until I got to OSSI in 2011 that I truly found my work home, a place where, working with great colleagues, all of my experiences, skills, and talents could be applied towards supporting the education of fellow Washingtonians. At OSSI, I had the privilege of leading the Division of Post-Secondary and Career Education for 10 years. In this role, I was able to guide OSSI to better support DC learners in myriad ways, from increasing participation in CTE programs by more than 90%, to tripling dual enrollment seats, to launching the ATC, and a transformational scholarship program that included tuition, coaching, and emergency funds for students. I'm very, very proud of the reach of my work leading this division. Not only has this work had a profound impact on education and the lives of district residents, their families, and in our community, it has also provided me important agency and DC government experience. This leadership experience at OSSI enabled me to step into the interim state superintendent role, ready to lead on day one. During my tenure as the interim and acting state superintendent, I have provided continuity in leadership while taking important new steps to advance the work of our agency. Under my leadership, OSSI has made progress to support teachers and learnings through new professional development, standards, programmatic, and technical assistance work. Advancements include developing implementation supports for newly introduced standards like the financial literacy standards. I firmly believe that those closest to their students are best positions to make final curricular choices. But I also believe that we should leverage our agency's expertise to build resources and provide guidance to LEAs. We are proactively taking strides in this direction. We have supported elementary school literacy instruction by creating a structured literacy instructional support tool and vetted a list of structured literacy trainings. These steps and more are helping to actualize the vision of the Early Literacy Task Force 2023 recommendations. We also launched the Apprenticeship and Teaching Program, which is helping build the next generation of classroom leaders while supporting current educators. Over the past 10 months, we have also taken important steps to support students with disabilities. In transporting thousands of students door to door each day, we have prioritized the acquisition of a new transportation GPS system and increased participation in our parent stipend program. We provided required dyslexia training to more than 14,000 educators this year and published compliance information on our website for the first time. We released OSSI's second annual LEA Special Education Performance Reports, providing a transparent way of identifying LEA strengths and challenges. OSSI plays a central role in supporting and sustaining one of the most robust early learning environments in our nation. As an early member of the State Early Childhood Development Coordinating Council, I have a demonstrated commitment to ensuring that our youngest learners have a strong foundation for their education. Under my leadership, we have taken important steps to continue to advance early learning quality, accessibility, and affordability, including revising the payment formula for the Early Childhood Educator Pay Equity Fund program for increased sustainability and increasing early childhood educator credential attainment. We've been streamlining the child care subsidy application process, expanding access to dedicated child care seats for students with disability, and joining a new cohort of states working to improve the adoption and implementation of high-quality pre-K curricula. This is critical and exciting work that I'm eager to continue. The State Education Agency also plays an important role in fostering student well-being, and I see this as a vital element of student achievement. As interim state superintendent, I have supported this goal by successfully launching DC's first district-wide school climate survey, which will provide valuable insights into how students, parents, and educators feel about what is working in their schools and what needs improvement. And by the way, the response has been amazing. We got like 48,000 responses from students, 14,000 responses from families, 10,000 responses from teachers and educators. So the data is going to be very, very rich. We also supported the distribution of $7 million in grocery benefits to 58,000 students in need of nutritional support through the launch of Summer Bucks, a summer EBT program. In addition, we helped a cross-agency effort to raise the immunization rates of students in the key grades, pre-K 3, kindergarten, 7th grade, and 11th grade to 96%. This is the highest number on record. During my tenure leading OSSI, we have accomplished a great deal, and it would not be possible without the amazingly talented and dedicated government workers who comprise the OSSI team. To cultivate esprit de corps and to celebrate the many individuals whose unseen hard work is vital to our agency's success, We hosted the Aussies earlier this month. This internal awards ceremony celebrated the extraordinary work of employees from across our divisions and highlighted their contributions to the agency's mission. These nominations embody one of the reasons I love working and leading OSSI. I am driven by our mission to serve DC learners, and I am inspired by the individuals I get to work with each day. As I look forward, I'm excited to put my experience and knowledge to work as DC's State Superintendent of Education. OSSI's current strategic plan, headed by Dr. Grant, runs through September 2025, and I look forward to leading the development of OSSI's next strategic plan to focus and drive our priorities forward with urgency. I am excited to engage you and our many stakeholders as we emphasize as we commence this work this summer. Under my leadership, OSSI's plan will emphasize academic achievement. A strong DC public education that centered academic achievement is what opened doors of opportunities for me, and it is what will allow our students to lead purpose-driven lives as well. To achieve upward economic mobility, strong mental and physical health, and a well-rounded, fulfilling life, we must center academic achievement at the heart of all we do. My vision for the future is anchored in 4 cornerstones of academic achievement: attendance, foundational academics, school improvement, and reimagining high school. First, attendance. We need to get our children to school. Daily attendance is foundational because children do not learn academic standards if they are not in school. For the past 2 years, our annual report, our attendance report, has demonstrated this empirically with a clear demarcation in growth between students who missed less than 5% of school days and those who missed more than 10% of days. And the hard truth is that even before the pandemic, our children were not attending school enough. If confirmed, I will continue to bring increased focus on attendance to OSSI. Second, we must get the basics of education right. This means that we need to continue to drive improvements in foundational academic achievement. All students should be able to read competently by the end of the 3rd grade. As a district, we should promise our children and families that we will provide them the supports and tools needed to make this vision a reality. And we must get our students and families to buy in to their end of the bargain. Once children learn to read, they can read to learn. But if we do not reach that point, then academics become an endlessly difficult challenge. Foundational math is also essential to developing higher order thinking. OSSI is working to ensure all DC students have access to high-quality math instruction from pre-K through high school by setting high standards, providing robust educator supports, and holding schools and school systems accountable. Realizing this district-wide vision in math will require a collective effort. This is why I assembled a task force in October to develop a set of recommendations to enable all DC students to achieve proficiency in math skills and concepts, setting them up for success as critical thinkers and problem solvers in school and life. If confirmed, I will double down on continuing to build foundational academic achievement for all students in our system. The third cornerstone of my vision is to improve our lowest performing schools. In 2025, all children should be attending schools that meet their fundamental educational needs. I am proud of our Accelerate DC framework, which identifies a new evidence-based theory of change to improve our lowest performing schools. At its heart, our plan is to support our lowest performing schools by providing clear expectations, funding, and aligned supports to aid schools in implementing strong improvement plans and to close learning gaps. However, written plans are not enough. To provide all children with the education they deserve, we must actualize school improvement, and we have more work to do to accomplish this goal. If confirmed, I look forward to bringing this vision to fruition. Fourth and finally, we must continue to reimagine the high school experience to meet the needs of our young people and our workforce. Under Mayor Bowser's leadership, we have already taken bold steps to enhance the high school experience, including launching the Advanced Technical Center in Ward 5 and expanding access to dual enrollment, work-based learning, and career and technical education. We must continue to build from this strong foundation. This winter, OSSI unveiled DC's inaugural district-wide graduate profile, which articulates a vision for the college and career-ready capabilities students should attain in advance of high school graduation. OSSI will use the graduate profile to reimagine DC's graduation requirements and prepare students to succeed in their chosen path. We must continue to create more flexible and personalized learning paths for students that intertwine high school, college, and career. To effectuate this vision, I am committed to an individualized pathway diploma endorsement and to opening a new advanced technical center in Ward 8 this fall, focused on healthcare and career pathways. If confirmed, I will continue to prioritize reimagining the high school experience to make learning more relevant to our students and their futures. These four cornerstones do not exhaust my ideas for advancing OSSI's work, but are indicative of my leadership vision and how I will seek to use my position and experience to prioritize student learning and achievement. There are very real operational and external challenges that our agency will continue to face, including improving our student transportation service and navigating a constrained budgetary environment, as well as the uncertainty at the federal level. During my 13 years with OSSI, I have always faced challenges head-on with the support of a terrific team at OSSI and our government and non-governmental partners. I will continue to rise to any occasion that may come OSSI's way. In so doing, I will always have one lodestar: do what is best for our kids. I am optimistic that everyone here shares that guiding vision with me. In conclusion, I'd like to share a quote from the beginning of one of my favorite books, Their Eyes Were Watching God, by Zora Neale Hurston. Quote, "Ships at a distance have every man's wish on board. For some, they come in with the tide. For others, they stay forever on the horizon, never out of sight. My wish for every student in DC is an excellent education, an education that challenges every student to meet their greatest potential. More than ever before, we have an opportunity to improve educational outcomes for all students, to close attainment gaps, and to increase upward mobility for DC families. With sustained effort, no matter the headwinds, wishes far away on the horizon come closer to shore each day. We must be ambitious enough to dream a future yet unseen and practical enough to do what we can to bend the arc of destiny for the coming generation. If confirmed, I will keep my eye forever on the horizon so that our community's children can dream new dreams and have the tools to pursue them unyieldingly. My path to sitting before you today started with learning to read and do mathematics at Bancroft Elementary, which ultimately led me to study education at one of our nation's foremost universities, draft education policies at a DC think tank, work in higher education, and lead OSSI's Division of Post-Secondary and Career Education. I have been on a continuous journey that has always had what is best for students as the clarion call. Through these experiences, I have grown my understanding of education theory and practice, my knowledge of DC government, and my leadership skills. The state superintendent seat is the culmination of my life's work. I am ready to lead OSSI into the future, and it will be the greatest honor of my professional life. I hope you will give me the opportunity to do so. I am pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. So I do have some questions. It is a confirmation hearing. I do have some questions. In fact, I have a bunch of questions. I don't know if I'll ask all of them. 10 minutes. And in addition to Councilmember Bonds, Councilmember Parker is here online. So 10-minute round, maybe 2 rounds. You kind of touched on this in your statement, but I'm going to ask you a little differently. What would you say are the 3 biggest challenges facing public education in DC?
Thank you very much for the question, Chairman. I think that we have, well, let me say that the first challenge that comes to mind, particularly listening to the testimony today, but also from my experience leading the agency thus far, is around special education and particularly special education transportation. We transport over 4,000 students door to door every day. We are definitely getting better, but we know that we have a lot of work to do. One of the most exciting things that we are doing right now is purchasing a new GPS system that will allow us to be more efficiently set routes, as well as the new system will have an app whereby parents will be able to track where the buses are so that we can better understand and get students where they need to be. So this system we're hoping to purchase in the next few months. The plan is to program the system over the course of the next school year and begin implementation in summer of 2026. I honestly believe that this new system will enable us to address many of the concerns that have been stated here today and that we hear every day around transportation in DC.
I have more questions. So what would you say are second and third challenges?
So second, I would say school improvement. I think it is critically important that we address schools that are underperforming. I think that every student in DC right now should go to a school that can meet their educational needs. Our Accelerate DC plan is in place. We are beginning to work on it, and I think that through the evaluation of those schools, the development of plans, and our work with DCPS Central and the Charter School Board, I think that we're going to have a real impact on improving those schools, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. I would say that the third area is likely just foundational academic achievement. I think that, as I indicated in my testimony, it is really important that children learn to read and to do mathematics, particularly in terms of literacy by the 3rd grade. And so I know that our test scores would suggest that we also have a lot of work to do there. And if I am confirmed, I will focus like a laser on academic achievement and work to build on the foundation that we already have around literacy, and also to implement the recommendations coming from the Math Task Force.
How do you partner with other state education agencies to develop and implement policy in the district? Are there other SEAs that you have close relationships with or are working with frequently?
So we partner with several different agencies in the city, probably closest with the Charter School Board and DCPS.
I was asking SEAs in other states.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. So I have been working to understand special education, and particularly the special education certification versus a diploma. And we've been talking to folks in Virginia who have a special education diploma. I find that colleagues are very interested and willing to share information and their experience. Similarly, I've talked with the leader in Maryland around her work raising academic achievement by the 3rd grade. We are a member of the Council for Chief State School Officers, and through that organization, I am in contact with state leaders from across the country relatively regularly. There is a a cohort of new leaders that I have the privilege of being connected to. And so those are some of the ways that we connect with other SEAs.
Are you finding with recent directives or memos or whatever from Department of Education that you're reaching out to or working more with other state education agencies?
Yes, I'm certainly aware through the organization that I mentioned. I am certainly aware of what other agencies are doing in response to the federal government, and it is always a growth opportunity for me to hear from seasoned leaders regarding their responses.
Speaking of which, Department of Education sent all the states a letter demanding that they sign some sort of like an affidavit. Have you responded, and how did you respond?
We've not responded as of yet. We have been in discussions with our legal counsel, though, and our legal counsel assures me that we meet all of the requirements of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. We have made assurances in the past that we meet those requirements and will continue to do so in the future.
And Title VI is the civil rights?
Yes, it is.
You might have touched on this in your statement, but I'm going to ask it again. How will you engage advocates, families, community organizations across the district, as well as increase engagement with those OSSI may not connect with as frequently? I'm not looking for a long answer here.
Okay. I think that connecting with outside entities, particularly parents, organizations that represent parents and families, as well as the advocacy community, is very important. As indicated, I think we have a lot of ideas at OSSI, but we don't have a monopoly on the market. And so I think it's important that we talk to colleagues across the city, and I have done that. I think the biggest example is the graduation requirements work that I've been doing, where we've talked to over 30 organizations, and as a matter of fact, on multiple occasions to get the work right. So I believe strongly that collaboration improves the work, and I will do everything in my powers to continue to extend the opportunity to get feedback across all of the work that we do.
I'm going to shift topics. Currently, and you and I have talked about this, currently it takes too long for key policymakers, researchers, and advocates to access education data. What are some of the steps OSSI can take to improve the transparency and rapidity of the data request and receipt process?
Yes, we have talked about this before. OSSI is the repository of a great amount of data related to education in the city. We are very careful about our use of that data, particularly wanting to be sure to protect the privacy of students and their families. And consequently, there are processes in place that we have to go through before we release data. One of the things that we are trying to do is to better understand the data request so that we can proactively provide resources and reports. I think an example of that is the attendance work that we do. We first and foremost make attendance data available to LEAs almost on a daily basis. We also have increased the number of reports that we put out. I think this year was the first year that we did interim reports in addition to our annual report. And so we want to be as responsive as possible, and to do that in a way, though, that protects the privacy and integrity of the data that we have.
On the interim attendance reports, how often are they coming out?
They're coming out 3 times a year in addition to the annual report.
You testified about the GPS for OSSI DOT. What's the timeline? You may have spoken to that, but I didn't really write it down, the timeline for this.
Yes, we the timeline would be the summer of 2026. So that's next summer when we will be able to employ the system across all of our buses for the first time.
So that would be entirely. And then you have a
For the
pilot.
summer. For the summer, yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes. We hope to run some pilots next year. What we have to do to program the system is pretty complicated, and so it will take time. Trust me, I was not happy to hear that it would take so much time, and we're going to work as quickly as possible. To the degree that we can do some smaller pilots, we will certainly do that.
I'll have some more questions, but I'm going to end this with just one question. That is, how many Aussies did you hand out?
We probably handed out about 30. Is that about right? About 30.
Any of them for Best Picture or?
No, we actually have a wonderful set of core values at OSSI, and we gave an award to one person from each division in each of the core values. Then they range from focus on students to collaboration to excellence in work and detail. So yeah, about 30 awards. It is an amazing thing to have 400 colleagues submit recommendations for awards. It is a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Councilmember Bonds, if you have questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. And thank you very much, Dr. Mitchell, for being here to talk a little bit about your vision and give us a rundown on your background. I wanted to zero in on one area that you spoke about, and that you mentioned in your vision that teachers are agents of change, and you're working to provide them with the skill sets, the support that they need through training. Can you talk a little more about how you see the need as it relates to our teachers and helping them to help our young folk to move up the ladder, so to speak?
Yes, yes, yes. I am in love with teachers, and so I could talk about teachers for a very long time, but I will only say that I truly do believe they are the change agents. The relationships that they develop with students are often the key to unlocking increased academic attainment. The trainings that we have done thus far for teachers have been pretty significant. I think you may be aware that we are focusing in on the ability to use the science of reading in the instruction or on literacy. And as a result of our task force, we have been able to really provide a great deal of professional development on structured literacy, the science of reading. We have trained over 1,000 teachers in the science of reading. We have created in our learning system, it's an online learning system, courses that teachers can take and will have to take, as a matter of fact, that really provide the details about how to teach reading and how to do it in a scientifically proved, evidence-based manner. This is important learning. We are working to ensure that all of our kindergarten teachers first have this knowledge, and then we'll be moving up the chain to ensure that all of our teachers in the early elementary grades have this training. In addition to that, we've done math boot camps to support the training of the teaching of mathematics. All of this in an effort to shore up the foundational knowledge that our students are receiving in the early grades.
Thank you very much for that response. In the training, do you also give attention to what I call life skills, and that is helping the teacher understand a classroom environment, their students, their community?
Yes, that is a really important aspect of being a teacher. And we do have courses that are designed to help teachers know and understand their community in our system. I would say that it is a couple of things. One, in our requirements for educators as they become licensed, there are course requirements along those lines that are very critical and that teachers must have for those teachers who are required to be licensed. In addition to that, when we think about the graduate profile, the types of things that you're talking about, the ability to have competence in the cultural background of students, all recognized as very, very central. And as we roll out the graduate profile and engage schools in actually using it, that type of training will also be included.
And so in your training of teachers and all of these, I'll say these divisions that you've identified, do you rate the teachers throughout their training, and how long is the training? I really want the public to understand what we're attempting to accomplish in educating our young people. Our educational system is a almost $3 billion enterprise. And I want them to understand how is that resource really spent to the benefit of their household, their children, and our broader community.
Yes. So the evaluation of teachers is really a requirement of our local education agencies or school districts. And in doing those evaluations, not only are the teachers' knowledge of content evaluated, but also his or her facility in working with students and being able to offer instructional strategies that are really responsive to who the students are, what their backgrounds are, how you can connect and hook students into learning. That is really an important piece of teaching across the board, and all of the evaluation systems, I'm sure, include those components.
So do we need to go further? Are there other types of trainings that we can give to our teachers? I ask because, as you know, every year, a few drop off. And the day of a family having multiple siblings in a school and knowing that Mr. Smith will be your science teacher, blah, blah, blah. It seems to be over.
Yeah.
Parents can't depend on that. And so they have no real measure. You know, you can measure one kid against the other and say, well, when Johnny was there, now you're there, Mark, and it's different.
Right. Yeah, you're hitting on many issues, one being teacher retention.
Yes.
And we are definitely looking at teacher retention through our educator workforce reports. Right now, we are vacillating between 80-85% in terms of teacher retention. We definitely understand the need to increase that percentage because as we begin looking at our attendance work, we know that one of the important components of getting kids to come to school every day is school culture and school climate. And if teachers are not welcoming and caring and able to relate to the students, then the students are less likely to learn. And so as we begin to delve into the data that comes from our school survey, we will shine a mirror, put a mirror up to the LEAs, help them understand the perceptions of students and parents and family members, as well as educators around what type of climate are they creating in the schools. And I think that hopefully teacher professional development will become a part of what schools do to improve the climate in the schools, and the types of things that you're talking about will definitely do that.
All right, and so then finally, I wanted to ask one more about teachers. Do you see OSSE having let's say, final say as to creating the environment for a flourishing system for education that includes the teacher, the community, particularly inside the school building itself. Is that part of your role, your mission? Is that how you see it?
Yes, I definitely see OSSI's role as a support role to provide every teacher with the resources that they need to be successful in school. We do that through our work with school leaders, LEAs, as well as with DCPS Central and the Charter School Board. So when we talk about a successful school is a school that has a very positive climate and that has the resources needed to be successful with students. We want to ensure, as we work with the lowest performing schools, that we are able to target what is needed in ways that will improve student academic achievement. And certainly what you're speaking about is an important component.
All right, and then in that same arena, we have what we call central office.
Yes.
What kind of impact can OSSI have on central office? I'm thinking about the regional superintendents, so to speak, that have bunches of schools under their belt to work with. So how does OSSI relate to any of that?
I think the two biggest ways that OSSI relates to central offices across all of our LEAs are through policy and through finance, because the schools, the LEAs receive funding and grants through OSSI. So through the ways that we write grants, we can shape what happens in the LEAs, and also through policies like attendance policy or our policies around teacher licensure, things like that, are the ways that we impact the work that happens in the central offices.
All right, so then you do not have any role in helping to supervise or evaluate what happens at central office as it relates to the school environment.
I think we can evaluate based on grants that we have to see that the requirements of the grants are being met. But more importantly, we work collaboratively with the LEAs, the local education agencies. For example, we're thinking about professional development in literacy. We are in conversations with DCPS Central right now to provide the literacy training as a part of the professional development hours that are already built into the contract versus having to require additional professional development hours. So we are able to work collaboratively with central office to get things done, as well as through those other two mechanisms that I mentioned.
All right, I was just thinking about that. I know I've run out of time. I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
There'll be a second round if you need it.
Oh, I need 3. Okay.
Councilman Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's good to see you again, Dr. Mitchell. I'm going to move through my questions pretty fast. So if I move you along, it's only because the clock is ticking. I wanted to start with truancy. I was glad to hear that truancy is one of your main priorities.
Yes.
What is the work happening currently and that is planned for next year to further improve our truancy rates in the district?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. So we know that the strategies that can move the dial on truancy include building stronger relationships with students in schools and building firmer relationships with families, a positive school culture, wraparound supports, and the use of data. And so at OSSI, we've hired our first state attendance coordinator. And that individual comes with expertise in attendance, and that individual will work with LEAs and attendance coordinators within the LEAs in a community of practice to share the best ways to move the attendance dial. We have also implemented the school culture and climate survey, which I spoke about earlier, and we're very excited about because we know that if a school climate is welcoming, students are more likely to want to be there and to attend.
Yes.
I
And,
also
and
have an awareness.
sorry, just jumping in. We want, and we've talked about this offline, but just for those in the public, for our younger students, the referral process centers on CFSA.
Yes.
And we know that CFSA is screening out the vast majority of referrals that are coming to them because they would say this issue does not rise to the statutory definition of educational neglect. How can we get OSSI to play a greater role in our truancy investigation work to cover the gap that currently exists between where CFSA is rightly taking up matters of neglect and abuse, which they should, but there are thousands of young people that are missing school and are being screened out, and I fear being that are falling through the cracks. How can OSSI step up to investigate and follow up with those young people to ensure they show back up to school?
I think there are tens of thousands. And so I'm not sure that an individualized approach is the only thing that could be done to support. I feel that it is important that we get messages out to parents. Our attendance at the pre-K 3, pre-K 4 kindergarten is like 46%. Right. And so that's not the kids making decisions. Those are parents who may not be aware of the important pre-literacy skills that are happening at those grade levels in preparation for greater work later on.
And I agree with you. Would you agree that truancy should be the focus work of OSSI?
I think that truancy is a big enough problem that it requires a lot of different agencies to focus on it.
And so right now, for our young people, CFSA is the main point of focus. For our older students, Court Social Services and the Office of the Attorney General. It strikes me as odd that OSSI does not play a greater role in ensuring young people show up to school. I don't want to belabor this point, but are you at least open to dialogue between the council and your team about how we might ramp up OSSI's role in ensuring more students show up to school? And by that, I mean a direct role, not just hiring a staff person that's going to coordinate.
I am very interested in this topic. I think it is critical for us to improve academic achievement. So absolutely, I want to be engaged in a discussion around more that OSSI can do in this area.
Awesome. I wanted to turn to literacy. I know we've also talked about this offline. I'm glad to hear that you're making progress with DCPS. Based on our conversation, it seems like DCPS is working to embed the science reading training within their already scheduled professional development schedule, which is good news. What is the projected timeline for that?
It would be a few years to get to all of the teachers in the elementary grades. Yeah, so the timeline is actually a few years, but it's such important work, and to embed it in professional development that is ongoing is an excellent start. So we're.
Yep. I'm not. And what about our charters?
Yeah, our two largest charters have already trained their teachers in this area, and the other charters would come along, and we would likely require some type of grant to make this happen. But with the commitments from the other larger LEAs, the grants would be much less in cost.
So are you feeling as though the only way you can compel LEAs to do something that is research-backed, proven, and that OSSI thinks is a good idea is through a grant?
I think that through a grant is one way. I think that there is power in the bully pulpit. I think eventually results will begin to show up. And I believe that through convenings that we can do, we can reach many more teachers than we are reaching right now.
I mean, I will just make the implicit explicit, and we've talked about this. I think it's
Yeah.
great that DCPS is leaning towards embedding this structural literacy training in their professional learning. I think it's ridiculous to suggest it takes multiple years to do that. To me, it seems like there isn't a real buy-in across LEAs, like there is a buy-in for the folk who are backing this. And frankly, I think it is important enough that the council will need to move legislation to compel the LEAs. I wish we didn't need to do that because I think OSSI has the power to do it, but there seems to be this weird dance that OSSI continues to do with LEAs. That just doesn't get us where we need to be, and young people suffer in the process.
Mhm.
I want to move to math quickly. So I know the math task force is underway. I'm excited. Can you just give us an update of where things stand and what is the timeline if it has changed?
Yes, the Math Task Force is an exciting development. We have 22 experts from across the city, be they educators, researchers, others involved in this area. They began meeting in October, I believe. They meet every month and a half, I think. They are hard at work looking at strategies for math education.
And do you
the-
anticipate you'll be able to get a short list, unofficial set of recommendations to the council, even though this is going to be a very difficult budget year, but if there is by chance a way we can deepen investments in math work, will that be possible given your timeline?
Yeah, the schedule right now is that a subcommittee is working on a list of high quality math instructional materials, I believe. The recommendations from that
Can I
subcommittee are
ask a
due in
question there?
June.
I'm sorry.
In
I hate
June.
that I feel like I'm talking over you. I
Okay.
apologize. But I see the clock ticking, and I think there is a delay with the virtual. Um, why would we dedicate staff time and or volunteer time to researching quality curricula when that readily exists out there? So I can go to Ed Report to any number of proven, back, trusted sources, and they can tell me what the top math curricula are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think knowing there probably are several different places that can give you different ideas about what the top math curricula are and where they are most effective. And so, first of all, I'm not even sure we're talking about curricula because,
Oh, okay. I
yeah, so
misunderstood.
yeah, no
Well,
worries. The
and we talked about
recommendations.
this.
Go
We
ahead.
talked about this offline as well. My hope is that when the math task force is done, it will lead to a very coherent vision for math that then will be turned into action where OSSI can operationalize that vision by doing school visits and in not a punitive way, but in a support way to say, where are we against this vision and how are we going to help teachers, schools, and LEAs move towards that. I will end in my last 30 seconds. Just given the budget climate that we're in, and I know the mayor made an announcement about potential cuts necessary, what, if any, threats are there to OSSI's current and future planned programs given potential budget cuts?
Mhm. Well, I don't know the answer to that question. I think that there is a budget process and
Well, it's my understanding
programs.
that the mayor has asked her agency leads to make proposals. Has OSSI been asked to make a proposal for cuts and furloughs, et cetera?
Mhm. I think that is deliberative information that I probably can't share right now, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you around what our priorities are in the face of a shrinking budget.
Okay, I'm at time. It would be great if you could share with this committee. I understand we don't want to get in front of the mayor. What I'm getting at is we are talking about a lot of priorities and vision and plans, and it would be good to go into the budget with a clear-eyed view of what's in jeopardy with school support, with truancy, with math, literacy, et cetera, if those things are on the chopping block, and we just don't have that line in sight right now. But thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, council member.
If you stick around, Councilmember, there'll be an opportunity for another round. There were a couple questions that Councilmember Parker asked you, such as the timeline or recommendations with the math task force,
Yes.
and you were starting to answer. And
Yes, I was going to say the math task force will issue some preliminary recommendations in June, and then the final report at the end of September.
So nothing now when we get the budget. A little bit after that. Well, in June. We may get the budget in June. Might be July. Might be August. Maybe it'll be next year. Was there anything else that you were trying to say that?
I don't think so, Chairman. Thank you.
I would like you to react or respond to this, and that doesn't mean like, oh, good or oh, bad, but just a little bit more substantive response. We got testimony that included this, but as you consider confirming Dr. Mitchell to this role, it is also important that she make firm and specific commitments to listening to students, families, and educators, implementing what works, and making reforms where necessary. OSSE has work to do to strengthen how it engages the public in human ways. It's time to move away from the 20-minute, highly technical and very online surveys and focus groups for the already engaged, and partner with organizations that are more closely connected with and trusted by the constituencies they wish to engage. Engagement with the State Board of Education has improved, but OSSE should welcome greater authority to the SBOE as well. How would you respond? Or how do you respond?
Well, I think I hear two things there. One, in terms of our outreach, willingness to listen and collaborate with outside entities, I think that we do that, and we actually do that quite well. We take the feedback as well as recommendations from others quite seriously, and I think that the graduation requirement work is an exemplar of that, but certainly not the only one. I could go on to talk about all of the advisory boards that we have internally to OSSE. The superintendent seat has advisory boards from parents and family members. We have an advisory board for school academic officers. We have other advisory boards for special education. We have formal mechanisms to receive feedback, and we will work to increase that. In terms of partnerships, you heard from some of our partners today, DC CAP on college access, the national organization on community schools, the work that we do with City Bridge. We have tons of partners across the city that we work with every single day. In terms of the bill and our work with the State Board of Education, I actually believe and stepped into a situation where the relationship seems to be working quite well. We are as responsive as we can possibly be to questions, comments, concerns from the State Board. We meet with them monthly. I meet with the leadership monthly. I attend their public meetings. Often I go to their working meetings. We answer questions. We've worked together to do the state accountability system. We've worked together to do state standards, literacy standards, health standards, so social studies standards for sure. So I think we have a very good working relationship with the state board, and I don't see the need to change what's working.
All right. I asked for your reaction or response. Thank you for that. Some of that touches on, as you know, there's criticism of the public education governance system in the district. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that, but you touched on state board. That's one issue that one area that people look at. But another is, with this question, how will you hold DCPS accountable even if it goes against the wishes of the mayor and the deputy mayor of education? For example, what if DCPS believes that an early literacy implementation plan impinges on their professional development autonomy?
So I would say that one of the benefits of being in DC is the fact that we have a pretty streamlined process whereby the mayor is very responsive to her agency leads. Paul Kine as the deputy mayor of education makes recommendations and suggestions, and then the mayor either agrees or doesn't agree. Usually, there is a great deal of of alignment within the system that enables us to move quite quickly on lots of areas. And so I think that the system as it exists now and the structure of governance is a benefit to education in the city.
Have there been issues, or do you foresee issues where DCPS, honestly holding DCPS accountable, even if it goes against the wishes of the mayor?
I've not experienced that, and I have been in a couple of situations where we have had to hold DCPS accountable in terms of spending, in terms of meeting certain requirements from OSSI. I've never had any interference from the mayor in that way. So I don't see that as a problem.
What about charter school autonomy? To what extent do you think charter schools should be autonomous?
Well, I think that charter school autonomy is a part of the deal, right? Charter schools are designed to provide an excellent education for students, and in exchange for that, they have some autonomy, some level of autonomy. I think that that works well. But when it comes to our lowest performing schools, I think LEAs have to acknowledge that work needs to be done. And in extreme cases, when the city, when OSSI has to work with the school, then I think we work pretty well with DCPS Central Office and the Charter School Board to speak with one voice to the schools about the changes that need to be made.
I know you've touched on this, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. What do you think OSSI can do to support teacher retention and recruitment? My question here says public charter schools, but because they actually have a lower rate of retention than DCPS, but I think this is really applicable to both sectors. What do you think OSSI can do to support teacher retention and recruitment?
Yes. So for teacher retention, one of the things that we've done is to support the pipeline in and of itself, because we think that when a teacher has a strong teacher education background, they are better able to function in the school and more likely to stick around. And so we have the apprentice program where we have 50 slots for individuals who are aides in schools who are going back to school with their tuition covered. They have coaching and are becoming teachers. They already have a job because their school has promised to hire them when they finish the program. And so that kind of continuity and support of individuals within schools, I think, is one of the ways that we support teacher retention. I think also through the professional development that we offer, I think that feeling competent and able to do the work that you've been assigned to do is another way that we can make educators feel comfortable in the classroom and not want to leave. Those are some of the things that come to my mind most immediately. Yeah, working on school culture and climate is also important. The fact that we extended the survey to teachers and 10,000 of them have already responded to the survey is pretty indicative of our desire to hear from educators. And as I indicated, those data will be available on the school report cards in December.
Do you think OSSI should be doing more specifically with regard to the charter school sector, which has a lower, to bring them up to the DCPS?
It's like 80 and
retention rate?
85%, isn't that right?
Well, it depends on how you measure, but if you measure, and this is how I measure it, same school, same role. Not just in the system, but same school, same role. The number for DCPS is around 79%, for charter 72%. Just focusing, whether OSSI should focus more on the charters to get them higher. There's a certain irony to my question, since when we have the hearings on teacher retention, a lot of criticism that DCPS's retention rate should be higher than 79%, and I agree.
Yes,
Any rent,
Chairman.
do more, should you be doing more to bring the charters up to DCPS?
I actually don't think so. I think that the fact that you have a career ladder in a school system is actually a positive because it enables continuity of personnel. And as a matter of fact, our teacher of the year last year was a teacher, and now she is a coach. That is better to have her as a coach working in a school that she knows and working with teachers that were her colleagues is much better than her leaving the classroom and leaving the school and possibly leaving education. So the career ladder is actually a way to maintain and retain teachers in the school setting. I didn't mention it earlier, but I also think salaries is also a key to teacher retention. And the fact that the mayor has increased the budget for schools and increased teacher salaries, I think also plays a role in retaining teachers.
So I'm over my time, but there's one issue one thing that I don't think has been brought up by anybody today, UDC.
Yes.
So what is OSSI doing with UDC?
OSSI is, well, let me step back and say that as our only public institution in the city, I'm a big fan and supporter of UDC. And one of the ways that we have been engaged with UDC is through dual enrollment. UDC has, I think we have like 700 dual enrollment seats in 2024, and UDC had like 250 of those seats. Some of the most popular courses in dual enrollment are things like foundational writing, psychology, and biology, believe it or not. And UDC, those courses are UDC courses. We love our partnership with UDC, and it extends not only into the dual enrollment consortium that we have, but UDC is also a partner at the Advanced Technical Center. Their professors actually teach the cybersecurity pathway, and they are amazing. The kids love the professors. They are excellent at what they do, and I would love to grow that relationship. So that is one of the key ways that we work with UDC. I am so excited about Dr. Eddington's presidency and looking forward to finding additional ways to connect.
I'm over my time. Councilmember Bonds?
Thank you, Chairman. I was going to talk a little bit about reimagining high school, but since we're already on that subject matter, I appreciate that. Can you talk about other ways that you are planning to expand access to dual enrollment?
Sure. So dual enrollment, again, is the opportunity for high school students to take college level courses. We recently revised our dual enrollment requirements, and we're excited about that. We currently have relationships with 13 higher education institutions in the DC area. And as I indicated, 700 seats last year in the consortium, and then many, many more seats through the Advanced Technical Center. We'll have another Advanced Technical Center opening in August, and there'll be another group of students participating in dual enrollment. They're concentrating on the health sciences in preparation for work at the new hospital. We are hoping to increase dual enrollment year over year. We're communicating with families, increasing the number of courses that a student can take in dual enrollment. But the most important thing that we can do is to work with our counselors to help them understand that dual enrollment is not only for students who are excelling, but for students who are doing okay as well. And so opening up the possibilities of dual enrollment to students through our work with counselors is probably one of the That and the increase of the Advanced Technical Center are two of the ways that we're looking at increasing dual enrollment in our city.
You just touched on something that I'm very curious about. You're saying you want to expand it to the students that are doing okay. What about the students that are today they're in the classroom or around the school somewhere? Tomorrow, I don't expect that they'll even be coming to school. What about those? How do we capture those?
Yes.
That's where we have to go.
That is absolutely where we have to go. And I think that speaks to some of the work that we want to do with attendance. As Councilmember Parker
Yeah.
indicated, this is a really important point. We are absolutely leaving too many kids behind, and we have to find ways to get them back in school. I think one, again, school culture and climate, very important, needs to be welcoming and has to be supportive of these students. We have to figure out ways to get those students the wraparound services that they need, which is why it's so important that we have school mental health providers in the schools as well as social workers to meet those basic needs that are important. I think also we have to make sure that the courses are captivating and interesting because kids are just different today than they were many years ago when we were in school. And so we have to make sure that the courses are of interest to the students, which is why we have a real push for career and technical education at the high school level and even at the junior high school level. Because if you wait until high school to try to grab kids, it's probably too late. And so one of the things that we were able to do is to give schools startup grants, middle schools startup grants to offer different career education courses. And it just caught on like wildfire. We had thousands of kids taking courses that they didn't have access to before. And so lighting a passion, getting students interested, and then providing the courses so that they can follow a pathway is really a major way that we can try to capture kids and keep them involved in school and get them to graduation and through graduation.
You have just described an exciting opportunity for, I would say, at least nearly 50% of our students. And they'd like to have that kind of pathway. Is there a written plan that takes you from, let's say, age of 14 through all the rudiments so that when you are now graduating,
Yes.
because you've been enrolled in this dual program, that you know that there's a job at the end of when you walk across the stage, so to speak?
Yeah, council member, you are talking my language.
Oh, good. That's the language I want to talk.
We are working on a project, an initiative called Reimagining High School Graduation Requirements. And one of the recommendations there is to enable students to earn an endorsement on their diploma. And an endorsement would be based on a student's ability to complete a program of study in CTE. And so a student that did that successfully, took 3-4 classes, and also the culminating activity, which is an internship, that student would get an endorsement. Another endorsement pathway is dual enrollment in AP. So if a student took 3 dual enrollment or AP courses, that would be deserving of an endorsement on the diploma. And then there's an individualized option. All of these things are designed to enable students to hook students, to get them engaged in a particular area and move through a successive course pathway that would set them up nicely for the next step. The graduation requirements also include a stipulation that schools would be required to have 3 touch points with students throughout the high school career regarding the post-secondary plan. We want to get students thinking about that post-secondary plan in 9th grade, get a check-in in 10th, 11th grade, and then another one in 12th grade, just to ensure that somebody is thinking about this kid, somebody knows, and the kid can talk to somebody about what happens after high school. And the options are there, but we want to make sure that an adult is engaged with a child in that way. And so those are some things that I think could improve a child's engagement and attachment to school in ways that would ensure that they graduate.
I am very interested in your plan as you have described it. And the touch points, I think, tantamount to having a successful result as it relates to one going into a career or going into additional certified training or whatever it may take. And to that point, have you given consideration as to how do we take that young person to the job market or to the accelerated training market?
Yes, we have. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the internships that are happening through the Post-Secondary and Career Education Division. These are internships that happen at the end of a program of study. They are with local businesses. We get tons of support from our partners across the city, including City Bridge, and other organizations that help us place students in very real internships that give students really life-changing experiences in the workplace. And we are excited to be able to offer close to 600 of these internships during the summer and about 250 year-round internships that students participate in throughout the school year.
All right, well, thank you very much on that. And I just have a question. You mentioned that in conclusion that you want to improve the educational outcomes of all of the students to close the attainment gap. How do you describe this gap? If we were just meeting, you're going to tell me about you're on the journey to close this attainment gap. What does that really mean?
Well, there is a gap in educational attainment that starts almost at birth, unfortunately. And so you see kids falling behind, and you see disparities in attainment from kids from different socioeconomic backgrounds, kids from different racial backgrounds, often. These disparities continue as a child reaches 3rd grade. If a child is reading on grade level in the 3rd grade, then that child is prepared to then use reading to learn more as they progress through school. If a child, however, is not reading by the 3rd grade, that is indicative of a child that's going to struggle academically throughout his or her career. And the divide grows greater as this child progresses through school. There are gaps in terms of high school graduation. There are gaps in terms of college completion. And so what I think is important is that we attack this gap at every measure, right? And so my emphasis on foundational learning is to do just that, to ensure that all of our kids, by the time they reach the 3rd grade, are on track, they are proficient in math and in reading. Our scores right now would suggest that we have a very long way to go to get there, right? There's work to do in middle schools, and certainly reimagining high school is what we would do in high school.
And so I have to just ask this, Chairman, when you say that we have a very long way to go, what kind of attainment do you see happening year after year? Do you see it rising 3%? And what would it be based on?
Yeah, I think this speaks to Councilmember Parker's concern about how quickly we can get the training for teachers in place. Based on our test scores, we've seen some schools that have made double-digit gains in the course of 1 year. So we know that that is possible. We'll have to wait to see if they're able to maintain those growth levels. But knowing what is possible is important. And so what we plan to do is take a look at those schools that have shown such great growth, understand what they've done, and then try to replicate that with other schools so that we can begin to move the dial.
So education and learning, it's a lifelong. And for our young people, it certainly takes you into the third grade with great hope. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember Bonds. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you. I want to jump in on something Councilmember Bonds was getting at, and it's about the district's growing achievement gap or performance gap. While many touted our recent NAEP results, and I do think there's room for us to celebrate, if you look beneath the surface, what we see is that for many Black and Brown students, as well as low-income students, the gap is growing between them and white students and more affluent students. What specifically is OSSI doing to target this gap?
Well, I think that a lot of the work with the Literacy Task Force and implementing those recommendations is a very serious way that we are approaching those gaps. I feel that if a teacher
But we're
is-
not going to take action for another 3 years.
Well, I don't think that's true. I think that it might take us 3 years to complete the action that we take, but we're taking action right now. We have 1,000 teachers that are already trained. We have teachers that will be submitting documentation to suggest that they are or been trained in the last 5 years. We've looked at the practice exam and identified it as a good way. I think the requirement is that teachers are trained by 2027. Is that right? This 2027 academic year. We've done dyslexia training for 14,000 individuals already. So I don't think that this gap happened overnight, and it's not something that's going to be addressed overnight. But given the time, the commitment, the continuity of work, I do believe that we can address it.
Okay. If you're saying that the literacy work, and I'm assuming the math work, is the solution to close the gap,
It is a solution.
But it's the one being highlighted, I would want to see OSSI being much more urgent and intentional in advancing that work. I will say students in Ward 5, 7, and 8 are many of those students who are seeing, or the schools in those communities are seeing students where those gaps are widening. And I just think we as a district need to be much more urgent about it. I have an ask. Before the council comes up to vote on your nomination, are you willing to produce 3 things? One, a coherent, direct vision for math for the district, for literacy for the district, and how OSSI plans to target the widening achievement gap for Black and Brown students as well as low-income students?
I think a lot of that was in my testimony, council member. We have very clearly said that we.
So if I were to ask, what is OSSI's math vision for the district?
OSSI would like to, OSSI's vision is for all students, K through 12, to have access to instruction, well-planned instruction that will enable them to succeed in math, to develop a math mindset.
And I respectfully, I would say that sounds great, but that's not quite the vision that I would want to see our state education agency lay out. And so
That's why
again,
we
I
have a
would just
task force.
ask, I would ask before the council takes up your vote, and I support your nomination, by the way, but I do think there needs to be greater accountability on OSSI in ways that perhaps there hasn't been. In order to address the very real and urgent issue of our widening academic gap for Black and Brown kids in this city.
Yeah, a plan like that, council
provide?
member. Yeah, a plan like that, council member, should not be something that's developed, one, by myself, and two, within a couple, I believe the vote is going to be, supposed to be the 6th of
But it's
June or
troubling
something.
to me that there wouldn't already be a vision for math literacy and how we're targeting.
OSSI is a young agency. OSSI is a young agency. We are growing up. We have a math task force in place, and that math task force will bring forth the vision and the recommendations
If
for us to get to that division.
okay, I didn't even want to go down this lane, but I would just say if our state education agency cannot provide a vision, a coherent, direct, simplistic vision that teachers, school leaders, parents, elected officials can reference, point to, recite, I have very real concerns. And what I'm getting at is I know you care about this work, and I have great confidence in your ability to lead the agency. OSSI exists within a political paradigm, and there needs to be greater accountability for both the functions of OSSI, but for the kids that are in the care of the agency. And we annually see these press conferences where the mayor and her team, they spike the football. We've seen gains. We see press conferences. Yeah, we've made historic gains on NAEP. That's all great. But when you look beneath the surface, so many of our young people are graduating our schools not prepared to thrive in society. And that's an indictment on all of us. And so, respectfully, I'll move on, but I would ask respectfully that if you could produce a simple vision for math literacy and how OSSI will target the widening academic gap, I think that would go a long way. And I think it says volumes if OSSI cannot do that or is not willing to do that. I did want to come to the relationship with the State Board of Education. I agree with you that OSSI has a good working relationship with the State Board and has had a good working relationship with the State Board. That said, I disagree with the assertion, respectfully, that because things are working, we shouldn't make changes. As you know, there was legislation introduced that would empower the State Board in very specific ways. One, in their ability to amend policy that comes from OSSI, but also to be able to initiate policy. I know you referenced the graduation task force work. When that ultimately arrives at the state board, will they be able to make any changes if OSSI doesn't already have whatever their recommendations are included in your plan? Will the state board have the power currently to amend the graduation requirements recommendations coming from OSSI?
Right, because the state board has the authority to approve graduation requirements, without that approval, nothing can happen. And so, as with other things, we would work collaboratively with the state board to understand the feedback and suggestions that they have, incorporate them to the degree that we agree, and then they will vote. And if the vote comes back no, then the graduation requirements don't pass.
I hear you. I will again say OSSI and the state board, those bodies don't exist in a vacuum. They exist within a political paradigm. And so I think it's oversimplified to just simply say, oh, they have the right to vote.
It's what we did with the state it's what we did with the state report card. We
and I
worked through
believe the state
changes when they,
board,
yeah,
I believe the state board wanted to make additional changes
more
that
changes are
they passed a
happening.
resolution on, that they heard testimony from parents about, that I think arguably would go a long way in ensuring that special education students and their parents had more information available to them. And OSSI rejected that recommendation.
Well, I am not aware of the details of that exchange, but I do know that as we work towards a new changes in the state report card, we've made some changes based on the recommendations that the state board put forth, and we are always open to listening, to hearing, and to working together to get to a satisfactory point.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I would say the simple changes that I'm proposing would not alter mayoral control, but would give greater voice to the state board, who is the only duly elected educational body in the district. Just for reference, I know we've heard a lot about the school climate survey. That recommendation came from the State Board of Education. In fact, when it was being pushed, OSSI rejected the notion. And now today, OSSI is pushing and saying how great it is. When we talked about teacher retention, that came from the State Board of Education. When that first was brought up, DCPS rejected that it was even an issue. And then we realized we had one of the largest gaps in the country. I just surfaced those two very specific examples to say we have a great deal of expertise and work. I think we owe it to the members of the state board as well as district residents that vote for these individuals to empower them to be an equal partner with OSSI as you are advancing your work. I do look forward to
Give us a second. Give us a second.
Sure.
We've been having some problems with the internet connection. Oh, he said his computer dropped. I don't know what that means. Other than it sounds like it's not working.
Oh, goodness.
Well, I think we're done with him. Did Councilmember Parker asked if you would submit something regarding vision with literacy and math?
I thought he dropped that.
Okay. Well, we'll find out. All right, I don't have any more questions for you. Councilmember Bonds, you okay?
Thank you, Chairman. I am okay, and I'm okay with the this confirmation hearing. But I think just this final discussion leads me to wonder, how do we have programs, we have processes, we have policy, but how do we enforce it? Because, and I get the impression from my colleague, Councilmember Parker, who's also my representative because I live in Ward 5 and he represents all of us that reside in Ward 5. It just seems to me that you try, or that OSSI tries through policy. The implementation is really not in your hands. It's in the school systems. And then we have the state board that's sort of like on the fringes, to be very honest. And I was here when the state board ran the school system, prepared the budget, et cetera. What I see is that tremendous unbalanced situation, and no one really has enforcement authority. Meanwhile, our young people continue to go first, second, 8th, 10th, 12th, maybe, if they stay in school. That's not fair. Because if we're going to, as the government, are going to really impact education, somebody has to be the enforcer. Now, back in the day when the state office of the state superintendent office was developed, it was the state superintendent that came with the policy and blah, blah, blah. But it sounds like that's not, you don't have that role any longer, or that office doesn't really have that role. And so shame on us. Someone has to have the stick. That's what I see. Just a quick analysis. Thank you, Chairman.
Did you want any response or?
Yes, that would be terrific. And put it on the line, Dr. Mitchell, where you see it.
All right. So I think that it is important that we make policies, that we provide funding for programs, that we enforce policies that we have through the through public shaming, through the use of our funding, and through technical assistance, right? One thing that is true is that you can come in with a heavy stick, but it is not necessarily going to make people change the way you want them to change. Most of the time, it is internal motivation that has a real change. And so it is my style to be much more collaborative in my approach, believing that if good people are well educated and have the information that is needed, they will make right decisions. And when they don't make right decisions, using the power of the purse is the way to do it. I feel that OSSI as an organization has made tremendous gains in education in DC. We have increased career and technical education, the graduation rates, while not exactly where we want them, are moving up every year. We are seeing some growth in our test scores. I've laid out a vision for where I'd like to take the agency. I think that in the final analysis, we are on the right track, moving in the right direction. We can argue about how fast we get there, but I do believe that we are moving in the right direction and that we are a force for good for kids in the District of Columbia.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you.
That's going to conclude the questions we have for you. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your willingness to continue serving. As I had indicated at the beginning of the hearing, the record, which means anybody who wishes to submit testimony or comments may do so. The record will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, May 5th. And it's possible, not definite, but possible that I will ask the committee to mark up the nomination on May 6th. Just saying that so that the public knows that they have comments, they have to get their comments in. I want to thank all the witnesses who've testified, and again, thank you, Dr. Mitchell. With that, the time is 1:28 p.m. and this hearing is adjourned.